everybody, and welcome to the On the Runs podcast, Best of 2024, Part 2. Last week, we heard from everyone in the months of January to March, and this time we're diving into April through June, starting off with the annual Boston Weeks, where we featured some amazing women in the running community. Then we had fun with some fellow podcasters, some New England locals, flying pig questions on the run, and a running entrepreneur where you'll find some amazing deals on running shoes. We'll top it off at the top of Mount Washington, but first, we'll start with the iconic Katherine Switzer. As many of you know, that was a big moment for me, episode 100. We got Katherine Switzer to kick off Boston Weeks. Most of you would think I would start with the legendary story that we all know, but we all know it. I feel like most of us don't know the beginning of the story, and she talked about that before we really got into it. So we're going to start off there with Katherine. I hope you all enjoy these clips I've been editing together. I really enjoy going back and listening to it all. We'll be back in a couple of weeks with our holiday special. Until then, enjoy more of the best of 2024s, the OTR classics we're dropping for you. You know what I would say. Don't fear the Code Brown. And if Erica was here, which she's not because, holy shit, she's sick again. It's like the roles have reversed on who gets sick here. But if she was here, you know what she'd say.
I hope everybody's feeling a lot better than me. You know that we love you. I hope you have a wonderful week. And don't forget to stretch.
Oh, absolutely amazing.
Well, I feel like you read my mind a little bit when we were talking about New Zealand, and you mentioned you grew up in the Hudson Valley of New York. Eventually, you ended up in Syracuse. Tell us about growing up in New York and landing in Syracuse.
Well, Eric, I didn't actually grow up in New York. I was born in Germany. My dad was in the Army. I grew up mostly in the Washington, D.C. area, and we lived in Chicago for a while. No, New York. My dad didn't want me to go, further than Lynchburg College in Lynchburg, Virginia. Perfectly good little college. I went there for 2 years, and then I transferred into Syracuse, and that was a big shocker for me, from kind of a southern kind of place to a very out there, slightly quite left-wing university. I wanted to be a journalist, so I went to the J school at Syracuse, the Newhouse School. That was a great passport. Erica will appreciate this probably more than you, Eric. I wanted to be a sports writer, and women were not sports writers in 1966. But I figured if I had a passport from a big journalism school, and I could write, and I could have a leg up, might get the job. So I was writing like crazy. And at Syracuse, I had that passport, and I stayed on, got a job, and worked at, got a degree at night and got my master's degree. And this was during the time then of the Boston Marathon. So it was at Syracuse where I actually met the guy who introduced me to marathon running. I'd been running since I was 12. My dad told me that life was to participate, not spectate, and I should get out and run a mile a day, and I'd make the field hockey team in my high school. And it was life-changing for me because it wasn't the running so much as the empowerment that it gave me as a skinny little kid, in a very big high school. Mm-hmm. So by the time I got to Syracuse, I was running about 3 miles a day. And I asked the coach if I could run on the men's team because there were no sports for women. Can you imagine that? 25 sports for men, all scholarship deep. Women had play days. One day a year we had a play day. I said, what? Oh. Are you kidding me?
So unacceptable.
So I went into the coach's office, and this is another one of those life moments, turning moments. I went into the coach's office. I asked if I could come and train on the men's run on the men's cross country team.
Yes.
And he took a big breath and he said, "Well, we've never had a girl before, but we cannot allow you to come officially because it's against NCAA rules. But we would welcome you if you wanted to come and train with the team." I said, "Great. Oh, thanks. That's all I really want, So I shut the door. And as I shut the door, just before it closed, you know how you can hear a conversation? Mm-hmm. He burst out laughing to his colleagues. And he said, "I guess I got rid of that one."
Tell me you showed up. Tell me you showed up.
So what do? That's what Woody Allen says. Secret of my success is that I showed up. So when I showed up, you know what? The guys were wonderful. I said, wow, what a sport. This is terrific. The guys were really welcoming. And there was a little guy by the name of Arnie Briggs, who was the university mailman. And he had been out there training with the guys because he was a Boston Marathon runner. And he would do his mail route and then come and train with the guys. And by the time I met him, I was 19. He was 50, had a bad Achilles, bad knees. And he jumped around like a jackrabbit. He said, we've never had a girl before. I've been here 30 years. We've never had a girl. Anyway, he took me under his wing because I was slow.
Oh, wonderful.
and he was injured. So injured, I could keep up with him. And then we started getting our mileage up, and every day he'd tell me another Boston Marathon story. He'd run it 15 times and occasionally finished in the top 10. And it was the day he was a hero. He was just, he was a little guy. He was a volunteer coach, and what did Arnie Briggs know? And yet when he ran the Boston Marathon, he got his name in the paper and he got kissed by the girls at Wellesley. And it was a big deal for him. He was a hero for a day, So I just admired the spirit so much. But I was cranky one day and I told him I didn't want to hear about the Boston Marathon anymore. Let's just go run it. And he said a woman couldn't possibly do it. I said,
challenge accepted, am I right?
I said, Arnie, you're telling me how great I am. We're running 10 miles a day. And he said, yeah, but a woman, 10 miles is not 26. And I said, yeah, but Roberta Gibb jumped out of the bushes and ran the Boston Marathon, last year. The year before. And, Arlene Piper in 59, run up and down Pikes Peak. And a couple of women had run the Equinox Marathon up in Alaska. He said, no dame ever ran no marathon.
Oh, Arnie, I have a feeling you're going to get it handed to you.
You don't have a training partner. And we argued. Yeah. Finally, he said, all right. He said, you know what? He said, if any woman could do it, I believe you could. I've thought about this. And he said, and if you showed me in practice, I'd be the first person to take you to Boston. And I said, hot damn, What do you I have a coach, I've got a training partner here, and I got a buddy. That was the biggest thing. And
absolutely.
Oh God, the snow! It snowed 9 yards that year in Syracuse, and
oh my gosh,
never saw bare ground. Oh, we were tough as nails. We were training in the dark. We were training in blizzards, and the day came to run the 26 miles, and we're finishing it, right? And I said, Arnie, we're gonna do it, and he said, yeah, I can't believe it. It's really great. And as we got closer, he kept saying, you look so good. And I said, I don't think we measured it right.
No.
So I said, let's do another 5-mile loop. And he said, can you do another 5-mile loop? And I said, sure, can't you? And he goes, I guess. So we went out again, and we're coming in now finally up, it was 31 miles.
So you just casually did a 50K that day.
I know.
Hey, Arnie. Here we go.
And you know what? He starts weaving across the road and his eyes are gone. And I said, come on, Arnie, a mile to go. Let's go. Come on. He was out of his mind. Eyes were just back in his head. When we finished, I threw my arms around him. He said, we did it. We're going to Boston. He's passed out. But to our point, earlier, we had said, about women and endurance and how we discover that endurance. Mm-hmm. When he woke up, he went like this. He said, women have hidden potential in endurance and stamina. And I said, it's the truth, because the guys on the cross-country team wouldn't come out and run with us after, 12 or 13 miles. They said we were crazy people. But at 12 or 13 miles is when I could keep up with them. And so there was our difference. And not to say they couldn't have trained up for the distance, of course. In those days, a woman wasn't going to be outrunning a man. But now, it's all changing. And it is a really exciting time for women, right now. I mean, for the whole world. I mean, when we're looking at this new potential of what capabilities, I think it's just going to completely change the face of sports. I mean, you're looking at soccer, Women's World Cup soccer, completely different game. And Women's World Cup rugby here in New Zealand, oh my God, they weren't hitting hard like the guys, but they were so fast and they went forever. they could keep up that pace, and nobody. It was just completely different. It was wonderful to see. Anyway, carrying back the Boston Marathon, so it was Arnie who insisted I sign up for the race. Yes. And I said, why can't we just go and jump in? He said, you just can't do that at Boston. It's a serious race. You're a member of the AAU. You're a card-carrying athlete, girl. You gotta follow the rules.
Do it the right way.
Pay your $2 entry fee. And I said, okay, but
$2, I love it.
Yeah.
I wish it was still $2.
It was a sweet moment when we were signing the entry forms at my dormitory. And I said, Arnie, if I wear a number in the Boston Marathon, I'm going to be really noticed. And he said, I know. And I'm proud of you. Amazing.
There you go.
Yeah.
Arnie totally turned his tune around. He knew you could do it. He believed.
Yeah, but you know what? Now, here's a guy who had run the Boston Marathon 15 times. He knew all the officials. He was respected. He, in fact, had trained and gone to races with Jacques Semple, and we'll get to that story in a minute. But he was putting his reputation on the line for me.
Oh, okay.
It's another way of looking at it.
Yes.
He believed so much that he and a couple of guys of the cross-country team were going to drive up to Boston. They were going to run the race with me because he believed in me. And he could have said, look, I'm sorry, I just can't do that. And he didn't say that. And
I'm proud of him for stepping up and
yeah, it's as
in the
I've gotten
right direction,
older,
right?
Yeah, as I've gotten older, I realized how difficult that would be. I mean, would you do it for somebody?
I would like to say I would, but at the time, it's just you never know because
you never know.
This is one thing that he looked forward to all the time. Yeah. And it was like his crowning achievement pretty much, right? So he would be risking that. He may not be able to run it again. So for him to do that for you is huge. That is a very big sacrifice.
Yeah.
Because it's fun and we love to do it. And it's such a cool community we're a part of.
I know. That's why I can't resist.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So take me back to Martha's Vineyard now. You're going to run your marathon. You got your game plan. You're thinking BQ. You're also thinking, what am I going to listen to? And tell me what you listen to and who created you a playlist.
Okay. So I could talk to a brick wall. I say that all the time. But I am like, when it comes to like unsolicitedly hopefully I'm pronouncing that right, messaging someone, like I get so nervous and everybody's like, why? You're like, just ask. So I was asking like Bex and everybody that I like to run with and everybody that I felt truly had a part of like my running journey and my training and anybody that I felt inspired by. I was just like, hey, like my friends, family too, everybody, my instructors, my coach, everyone. I was like, hey guys, do you have a few songs you can add to my marathon playlist? And that's kind of how it went at first. And then I messaged Emma because we very much have the same music style. We talk about it all the time. And I was like, hey girl, do you think you can send me a few tracks that you think would be great to run to? And knowing that like she's not a runner, I was instantly like, this is so that like, why would I ever say that? Like I wanted to punch myself in the face. I was like, don't be that person. No, but then like literally I messaged her like 3 days before, again, on a whim, unprepared, but it always somehow works out. And I, no joke, was walking up to the start line of the marathon and she messaged me the playlist and was like, have a good race. And I was like, okay, this is the one. Like, I was like, this is what I'm running to, period. Like,
Emma coming in clutch.
She came in so clutch.
I love it. And
it was like next level. And I still listen to it all the time during my races. Like, it's always the one that I start with. And if it ends, like, I just roll into another one. But nice. I always have some sort of version of it playing in my headphones.
Did she put any Janet Jackson on there? Because whenever I think of Emma, I always think of her and Janet Jackson.
Of course. We had Janet, we had Foo Fighters, we had Pearl Jam, Smashing Pumpkins, amazing. Everyone.
Do you listen to the playlist in order or do you shuffle?
I listened to that one in order. Yeah.
I bet you she like made it
curated it, right?
I don't know, but she did the Lord's work.
Love it.
So that playlist pushed you through that marathon where you be cute. Tell us, here's the one thing. We're a storytelling podcast, but what we really ask is that when you tell us these stories, spare no details. Tell us about the Martha's Vineyard Marathon.
Okay, this is so funny because the training was so great, right? Like I had such a great training cycle. Everything was perfect. I was like, but I still like got up there, and I'm sure Erica, you can speak, both of you can speak to this, but it's like, everybody's like, you're going to PR no matter what. And I was like, I'm not going for a PR. Like I want to be cute. Like I made it so far. Like you just are going for it. But then at the same time, I was
this
like,
was your first
pressure.
Marathon, right?
Ever.
So of course, PR.
Yeah, right. Like I was like, I'm
of
like,
course I'm going to PR.
I'm like, love you, but please don't say that. Like I know. No, in all seriousness though, I was just like, I don't know. Like I was trying to stay positive, but you always doubt yourself. And I'd never done it before. So I was like, I don't really know what to expect. I truly don't. I have only run like around the little downtown area there. Like I've only been there a handful of times, at least to run or to hang out for a weekend. But yeah, so my expectations weren't really high because when I got there, the expo was in the middle of like a grass field. There's like the beach. I'm not explaining this well. There's like a beach, then there's like a little tiny boardwalk, a little sidewalk, then there's like this big grass square like surrounded by homes. So it was like the beach and then like in the middle of this little neighborhood, like 2 tents. They were giving me like 25 different shirts, one from like 2021, one from like 2022. You guys are gonna die at the end of this story when I tell you, like it's insane. Anyway, I became like best friends with the race director because I was like, girl, if you do not have the tracking ready or my chip doesn't count, like we're gonna have issues. Like, and I just kind of knew it. Like I had a feeling, like I was not super confident after that, but they like didn't have tracking ready. The starting line was like the archway was like an inflatable. It was just funny. Like everything was so funny but it was so like, and I say that in the best way. It was so special. And it was like this grand moment. And I was like, oh my God, everything feels like it's going to go wrong right now. They changed the course map like at the last second. It was like 18 or 19 miles through like, I think it's a state park there, but like, it was like a long time in a park, like running through the woods by yourself.
It's a state forest. I just looked it up here. Yeah.
Yes, thank you. The state forest, keyword. It was like an all-terrain race. It was like pavement, sand. We got the boardwalk. We finished on the grass square where they had
you
the
ran
expo.
on sand and BQ'd.
It was crazy.
I am so impressed with that.
It was so crazy. And I'm going to be honest with you guys. I'm not even just saying this because it was my first one. It was like the most mentally challenging thing I think I've ever done because it was like, I was quite literally by myself for a long time, like a really long time. Because nobody was going around. Yep, that's the one.
That's the course. Look at all those turns and everything.
Yeah,
I'm honestly surprised they could make that a qualifier with all the different terrain, like and stuff. But good. I'm glad.
No,
that's great though.
No,
were you prepared for that, or you were thinking it was an entire road marathon? You were like, oh no, this is some
being honest,
different stuff.
I had no idea. I had no idea what it was going to be, and especially because they changed it. We were supposed to run through like Edgartown, like the little downtown area, which is like kind of it's not like all cobblestone, but there are like some parts of the road that are cobblestone. So I was like, okay, it's going to be like kind of like New York. I've run it before. And then they switched it to the park and I was like, okay, but it was paved. Like the park was the forest, sorry, keyword. The forest was majority like paved. So it was like fine. There was a path. It was when we got out of the forest where it was like, okay, these are sidewalks. And now there's like the sand on Jaws Bridge. And then you're like, wait, it's starting to rain. But the most special part of that was when they did the half and the marathon at the same time. So, and it's like very small, like the sidewalks are tiny there. So there was a point where you met up with like the half marathoners and I literally lapped my sister while she was running the half, and I slapped her so hard on the back. I was like, oh, maybe I shouldn't have done that. Like, that would have totally scared the shit out of me. But I slapped her on the back, and I was like, oh my God, Kate, like, let's go. And then I saw my friend, and I did the same thing. So it was just a crazy, crazy moment. And then, yeah, I was totally in tears when I crossed the finish line. My lips immediately turned blue because I like get so cold. You know how it is. And then I looked down. You're going to die. I looked down. The outside of the ribbon on my medal says the right date in 2023. The inside literally says 2022. Just like,
how does that work?
I was like, oh my God, this is just perfect. Like it was like the perfect day. Like everything felt so wrong. Everything went so right. And it was so good. And I was like, damn, like I did that. I trained so hard to be here. And then when I looked down and saw the medal said 2022, I was like, yup. Like, yeah, it tracks. Like it totally tracks. But yeah, it was really special, especially because somebody told me, like some random person told me in person to my face that like I wasn't going to qualify for Boston on my first marathon. And I was like,
I love that.
I was like,
oh
watch
man,
me,
I've had
watch
that
me.
before. I mean,
Without
that's
sounding
those
super
stories.
cocky because I'm not.
fucking
No,
love
I
that.
love those
fucking watch me,
stories.
right?
Yeah.
I
Brian
was like,
Payne, I'll
fucking
say his
watch
name
me.
all the time. Brian Payne was always like, you'll never change tires in NASCAR. I'm like,
Yeah,
watch
you
me.
fucking will.
Watch me, man.
Yes, you will. I was like,
Yeah.
yeah. You gotta make it subtle.
Yes. Yeah.
But it was crazy. And then yeah, like you said in my wonderful intro, I was first in my age group and third woman overall to finish. So I was happy about that.
So impressive.
Let's maybe you can help us out here. You give us some good advice, give our listeners good advice. This year we've been building our Code Brown commandments. Now, a Code Brown doesn't have to be a crap in yourself moment. It's just a oh shit moment, like running into a bear on the trail, or maybe having a malfunction with your running attire, or like say the entire bottom of your shoe falls off. We're having our guest this year give us a Code Brown commandment, and you could go in any direction here. You could go running, you could go with your outfits. You have a lot of options.
Yeah, a lot of stories I could choose from. And if thinking about this Code Brown commandment, well, since we're on the Boston topic, and there's costumes that we've been talking about, I am thinking about, and I will tell you this is the first time that I am sharing this story with anyone. Any other than Eric.
On the
Eric Chorney is the only other person in the world that knows this story. I haven't shared it with anyone.
An on the runs exclusive. I love this.
Exclusive. I'm only sharing it with you guys. I don't
listening.
know.
No one else listens to the podcast, so just spare no details and tell us all.
So Boston 2023. I've got this vision of being a blue and yellow flame, unicorn flame.
Ooh.
So I've got my costume idea. I wanted it to look like flames. And I thought of the idea of getting these wristlets with chiffon, yellow and blue, so that when I was running, it looked like flames coming off, shooting out of my arms. And I kind of had a flowy chiffon little skirt. So, and I had like the design, like it kind of ended up looking like lightning bolts, but it was really supposed to be like flames. So anyways, I made these, my dad helped me. We sewed together these little wristlets, and I sewed on pieces of chiffon, and I'm all excited. I was on Chronicle. I was showing the lady how I was making them, and she was like, oh, I'll have to see you at the finish with your chiffon arm, wristlet bands that you're creating. Because I was like, I'm so excited. So we're running the marathon. Everything's going great. They're flowing nicely. I feel like, I'm this... Oh yeah. There they are. Yep. I wore those. That was a cheap. I was testing them out there.
Smart.
There may not be photos.
Oh, that is at a Millennium Race. You're right.
Yes.
Before Boston. I remember that.
That was I was a repurposed. Yeah. So there, are they on one of those? Yeah, there you can kind of see them. They got a little wet. They're on my wrist. They were like chiffon pieces. I think I might still have them. They're kind of wrapped. They ended up wrapping around. But anyways, it gets to the point where I'm like, darn it, I have to like go to the bathroom, right? but I've got a leotard on and I've got these wristlets on.
Mhm.
So but at this Boston Marathon, I was trying to talk to all these people but I still wanted to do a decent time. So I wanted to get the photo ops. I want to hug people. I want to take selfies. I want to chit chat with people. So I don't want to take up too much time, not unnecessarily. So that means water, aid station, bathroom stops. Everything has to be really quick. And I tell you this because I had to go to the bathroom. I had to pee, but I had to be quick. And I have this leotard on. So what I do, I usually have to, most dancers or whoever or swimmers know, you just pull it to the side. I can't take the whole thing off and go naked. So I just pull the leotard to the side.
I would do the same thing. Yep.
Yeah, so I do it. I pull it to the side. So anyways, I was trying to be quick. I'm like, damn it, I got to pee. This sucks. I have to keep going. I have people to see. I want to get a somewhat decent time. I'm not going to, so I rush in, do my business. I stand up and I'm like, something smells weird. And then I look up and my wristlets that I had spent painstakingly made were brown. Like I'm talking shit brown.
No.
Both of them. And I'm holding them up. I'm like, what the hell is this? And I go, that smells like shit. I go, where is this coming from? It wasn't me. Like what? So I was kind of pulled over. I stood up, turned around. Someone had explosive diarrhea in the porta potty. I'm not talking a little bit. It was literally, it looked like it had gone up the whole back of this freaking thing. And it was on the seat. Like on the seat, on the cover, all over the side. Like, I don't know how that happens. It was like projectile. I stood up and in horror. Like I literally was like, I think I almost cried. And I'm looking at myself. And then I think, wait a second, my wrist flames are shitty. Is my whole back covered in poop? Like, I was freaked. This can't happen. I'm like, and it was like one of those, I wanted to get out of there. It wasn't me. This wasn't mine. I'm like, I didn't poop myself. Like, it was awful. Like, I just was like, how am I going to do this? So then I grabbed some hand sanitizer. I'm pumping it and I start trying to clean it myself. Like trying to I got to clean these. I need to finish with these. So I'm trying to salvage the damn things. Like, how am I going to do this? So I take toilet paper and I'm trying to clean them. I'm in the porta potty cleaning someone else's shit off of my arm things.
No.
And then I start feeling my back. I'm like it's dark. I'm trying to see if anything's happening back there. Is there stainage? Like what's happening? And I didn't know. And I kind of sat there and minutes are going by. Like I'm in there panicking. Like I don't know what to do. So then I get nervous and I'm like, should I clean this up? I don't want the next person to come in and think I just came out of there in my costumes.
No.
It was a fiasco. I probably was in there a good 3-4 minutes trying to salvage things, trying to figure out what to do with my wristlets. Finally, I gave up. I literally gave up and I ripped off the wristlets. I literally threw them down the toilet. Like it was like, yeah.
What else are you going to do?
There's nothing I can do. And these poor little things, they were just sadly on top of the pile that's already there.
God.
Just looking at them going, all that work for nothing. I'm not going to be able to have my finish line photo. You know how I love my perfect finish line photo with my medals.
Horrific.
I know. And I think it smelled so bad. But the thing is, I think what I was getting with the Code Brown commandment is you always check the porta potty. Do not sit. Do not do anything.
It's a good one.
Until you have checked the porta potty. And the thing is, I've been in ultras in the middle of the night, and I've actually had this happen where I walk in and it's a mess on the toilet seat, like some accident, like someone missed and it's all over. But I have my headlamp, and in an ultra, you're kind of slow moving. I'm kind of get in. I'm like, oh, that's a mess. Let me go to the next one. Mm-hmm. Well, I was in such a rush trying to hurry up. I just opened up, turned around, and started to pee, and I'm like, okay, I'm ready to go. And that's when it was just like. It was bad. And I was almost crying, and I walked out and afterwards, Eric's like, after we finished and we're sitting there and he's like, I was so nervous for you. He's like, could you track people? He's like, I was checking your splits and he's like, you were gone. He's like, I thought you had to drop out because it was right,
right.
Because you can see where people are and it shows your estimated finish. And he saw that I had been gone for 5 minutes. He's like, you were gone. He's like, I thought something happened. He's like, I was so worried. I go, no, I'll tell you what happened. That's what happened at mile 60. At the 25K, we had a bit of an issue.
Oh my God.
So I never finished. And when I finished, the Chronicle lady goes, "So what happened to your wristlets?" She asked me on TV. I go, "Yeah, we kind of had an issue. I had to let them go." I'm like, "Oh, I can't say that on TV. Like, this cannot go on Chronicle."
No,
But
there's a platform for that, and it's called On the Runs.
Yes. But she asked me, I'm like, why did she have to bring that up? But she asked me that on TV, like, "Whoa, what happened to your wristbands?" Yeah, I'll go back.
What a story! What a story! Now just send her this. Send her this. Yes. I'll clip the entire 5-minute story, and you can send her that.
Yeah, she'll. Yeah. So
that is a very wonderful commandment to add to the list. That one is not on there, but it is probably one of the most important. I will check
before you
definitely,
sit.
Definitely.
Yeah,
I always do just because. So Rachel,
check everything.
But I'm lazy. I'm like, my legs hurt. I don't care. As long as the seat looks clean, I'll sit. I don't care. I'm dirty anyways. Like, it's whatever. But that is I am terrified now, and I will most certainly be.
Take the extra second. It won't hurt. I mean, you can be in a rush in those races, but or the grass. Check there too, because I've actually squatted in poison ivy before.
Oh no.
I've had poison ivy. Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah.
Oh, that's the worst.
Wrong lady bits. It's not good.
Oh no.
That was before a marathon. I ran the marathon and didn't find out till, how poison ivy kind of hits later. So you don't really know till like the next day. So.
Well, those are incredible stories. I feel bad. What happened to that person? What happened to you? That's
what I want to know. How does it explode up there? How does that happen? It was literally on the wall. How did it get on the wall? And I was mad at the person.
I don't know.
I didn't even know this human, but I'm like, I hate you. I don't even know this poor runner, but I hated them that moment. I didn't even know them. I wanted to run out there and look for them, like sniff around, like, who is this? Who ruined my costume?
Would have been able to find them.
I mean. Yeah. I don't get how it could happen unless if it's happening like as you're pulling the pants down and you're not sitting down yet. That's the only way I can think about it.
Like I don't even.
It's either that or they did it on purpose and they're listening right now and they're going,
"Oh, no,
because we were at mile 19."
Oh, yeah,
that's like their MO. Like they do that. They go to marathons and just do that.
Oh,
and like
maybe,
or maybe it could have been a spectator. I didn't even think of that because spectators use those. I assumed it was a runner. I suppose I shouldn't assume that.
Yeah.
You have a
most
point,
likely was though.
Wow.
Erica, how do you go from that to your song? I mean,
hell if I know. This is I need to just take a minute to like breathe because I'm still so horrified for you. That is
I appreciate you sharing that because
it was embarrassing.
Only one person has ever heard it. It's an exclusive, an OTR exclusive. And I love you for it. Thank you for sharing that story. It's a year later almost. Like,
yeah,
it's time to let it out. I like it. Don't call me in a week and say edit it out. I want to keep that one.
It still stings a little bit. There was no poop anywhere else, just so we know.
Good.
But I was stressed out the rest of the race.
Because you were like, is it on my back? Is it on my leg? Is it anywhere I can't see? And did you walk over to anyone and say, can you tell me if I have shit on my back?
I was close to doing that because I figured they don't know me, but I need to know. There's photographers out here.
Yeah.
Well, let me tell you, if it was one of us, we would have helped you clean it.
Absolutely. We'll bring our butt napkins. They're
they're amazing.
The packaged wet nap things. So if you need anything, mile 19, you stop right by.
Yeah.
Did you write something? Do you remember, or did you just tag someone like Erica?
I remember I like if it's a good giveaway like that, I tag a bunch of people, and I'm sure like there are people out there or my friends that are like, God damn it, she's tagging me in this again. What is it? What is it? Oh, great. It's a pair of socks. Great. No, it's nothing like a pair of socks. Usually it's like something expensive, something I can't normally buy for myself.
Yeah.
And then I'll say something in my story like, I really need this. Like, like truly. Or like, I don't know. I'll just be like, I want this. Like, but I don't think I really said, I didn't give I don't remember if I gave my spiel about my fruit
Just
watch
saying, I
dying.
want this watch. It would be perfect, though.
Like, I really need this because my fruit watch is like awful.
We call it a fruit watch. We're gonna call it fruit phones going forward.
Yeah, I mean, because you never know who's listening, and they're like, "Hey."
We can start calling it a lemon.
But yeah, a lemon.
But
yeah. There you go. I like that. But yeah, so
good for you though. So you got the upgrade, and hopefully the Garmin has treated you well, and you haven't had any other issues.
Look at that
good,
beautiful
good.
watch! Wow.
Oh, and
Wait,
I have
what's on it?
Is that the dumpster fire dog?
Yeah.
We're like, this is fine. This is fine.
Yeah, and that's what it says. It says this is fine, and then it'll go to the time. But I'm like, how perfect is that?
Amazing.
And then when I go to work, so I didn't mention this, but I am a preschool teacher. So when I go to work and the kids are like looking at my watch, they're like, "What's that?" And I try to like hide it because I don't want them to see the dumpster fire dog.
Oh, it's just teaching them everything is fine. This is fine.
Even in the wildest of times, even when everything is on fire, it's fine.
I love it.
But
so Jess is going to Boston. She qualified. So how far did you? So you said you did better than you thought you did. By how much did you qualify? Like you said, a 20-minute PR. That's incredible.
Yeah. So my time in Philly was 3 hours 18 minutes.
Wow.
Yeah, and
you are firmly going to Boston. Cutoffs or no cutoffs, like you had.
Yeah, I had a pretty good
buffer. I
had a very cushy buffer. So, yeah, I never thought I could like run that fast. And then, like after I applied and I found out I was going to Boston, like the pressure was off. Because like a few weeks later, I went to Chicago and I PR'd in the marathon again.
I am so impressed. That is incredible.
Yeah. I mean, granted that Chicago, I really enjoyed Chicago.
Me too.
Not only was it very flat, but yes, I loved it. Not only was it very flat, but it was like, there were no dead zones. Like every block was filled with people. It's like, I remember at one point there was like a church and all like the priests and the nuns are out. And then the others, like I remember running a few blocks further and then there were the drag queens were out and dancing and just having a good old time. Like everybody came together. There were no dead zones and it was like a party like the entire time. I had a smile glued to my face during the entire race. Like it was so much fun. So much fun. And like I remember I got my race pictures back and I don't think there was one picture where I looked like I was dying. Like every picture, I was just like, yeah, I'm here. And I was just enjoying that experience. So, but yeah, Chicago really it really holds a place in my heart. It was so much fun.
That's amazing. I'm so happy. And also, once you run Boston, I'm going to have to get you back, talk to you, and figure out which one of those two are your favorites. Because
because
I am firmly on Team Chicago, but I did Boston the year that it was super rainy and the crowds just didn't come out in full force like they usually do. But Chicago is just something else, and that is a hill I will die on.
Mm-hmm.
Fun.
Oh, yeah.
What do you think is the reason for such the big PRs? And you said you found a training plan that wasn't online. Did you hire a coach or no?
No. I think it was, I wanted to prove to myself that I could do it. And, I do work really hard. I get up at ungodly hours. I put in the work. I put in the time. I was thinking about a coach, but I'm like, if I just follow this plan, if I learn more about running, and like if I didn't know something, I was going to look it up, like interval training, you know. I didn't know much about that. So I like Googled like, you know, people talking about it, and, you know, I have a better understanding of it now and how important it is. Like easy runs. I didn't know the 80-20 rule. 80% of your run should be easy. Whereas I was running all of my runs extremely hard and I burnt out quickly.
Yeah.
And so once I learned that, you know, 80% of my runs should be easy and only 20% should be hard, that kind of opened the door, because now I don't have all this pressure to run as super fast as I can. But I think once I finally understood that really opened the door for success. And now, you know, now I'm like, I enjoy an easy run. Of course, my easy runs are not easy to some people, but it's
all
fine.
relative.
Yeah. I mean, it works for me. So
yeah,
but,
your zone 2 is someone else's zone 5. It's no big deal. That's where you are, and they'll get there. Or maybe,
right.
you know, maybe they won't. Maybe that's just what they're comfortable in. Like your zone 2 is probably my zone 4. I see it.
Yeah.
And I'm okay with it.
Yeah. But yeah, like that was very important for me to learn. Because I remember when I first started out, I would just start running fast right out the gate. And then I would find myself fatigued and my legs were cramping, and it's just, that's no way to treat your body. Like really take it easy, ease into it.
It became wet and heavy after like mile 3. I was like, oh, this is going to be a long day.
Oh, man.
Well, let's get into that day. And Maurice, I am going to lead off with you here because you have a quote, and I'm stealing this from our friend Lindsay's Instagram post. And you were around race day morning in Hopkinton telling people, we get to do this. None of us have to do it, but we get to do it. And not everyone can say that. You have this way of spreading positivity and getting everyone in the right mood. Tell us about that. Tell us about your race day morning and what you're doing, pumping everybody up and getting the positivity going.
So Lindsay was already in a great mood. She was. And I think she was lifting up some of her team. She was lifting up some of her teammates that seemed to be, and it's race morning. You're going to be anxious. You're going to be nervous. But at the end of the day, we are so freaking lucky to be able to do this. We are the lucky ones that people look at and not only run marathons, but run the Boston Marathon. It is the most, in my opinion, the most iconic of the world majors. I've never done anything internationally. I would love to, but Boston is the most iconic. It's such a special day where the whole city is shut down for us. And that's my attitude when I run a local half marathon, when I run a local marathon. We get to do this. You're right. We don't have to do it. We choose to do it. But not only do we choose to do it, we're the lucky ones that are able-minded, able-bodied. You know, we have the physical, emotional strength to do this stuff. So we have to be grateful, and we have to be a light of gratitude for those around us to remind them, like, hey, this is what we're here for. This is what we came to do. We get to do this. Let's be pumped up and let's get to it.
All right. So, Allie, you got to do this. Tell us about your Marathon Monday experience.
My experience was really, really awesome. I met these two people at the start, or no, not even at the start. I met them on the bus. They're married. They have kids. All their kids do track, and neither of them had their phones. So we started our obviously newfound friendship over them asking me for a photo. And I was like texting it to them, and they just wanted photos everywhere. It was like the cutest thing ever. I was fully obsessed with them. They're great people. But we were talking the whole time on the bus. And of course, you know, anxiety's high. I was freaking out a little bit. It was getting hotter. And the wife was in like a later corral, but somehow finessed her way on the bus. Not trying to call her out, just saying she was a great part of the pack. It was amazing. I'm so glad she was there. Her husband was in like a wave after me, but same, I don't know, maybe like 5 minutes later. I'm not really sure how it works, but, So we didn't start together, but we walked to the start and everything. We took all the pictures at the Hopkinton sign all together. It was crazy. It was kind of like I was their child for an hour. And they were like taking care of me because I was freaking out. But we walked to the start line together, and eventually at like, I want to say right before Wellesley, like the half-ish point, he caught up to me and was like, "Hey, Allie, do you mind if I pace with you for a little bit?" And I was like, "No, let's do it. Totally." He's like, "We don't have to talk or anything." And I was like, "Okay, cool." Cause I'm not taking off my headphones. Like they were my saving grace, at that point. But yeah, we shared a few miles together, and then eventually like we ended up missing each other at some point at a water station. But yeah, and then it was just a party after I saw you guys. I don't want to get ahead of myself, but I'm not kidding you. As it got hotter and hotter, like it was, my body was just like, girl, you need something that you're not getting from the water, from the gels. And it was kind of like fight or flight. And I was like, just make it to mile 19. Like you'll be fine once you make it to 19. Cause I knew you guys were going to be there. And then after you guys, it was my family. And then it was like Boston College. And I knew a bunch of friends were going to be there. So I kind of flipped from like, totally anxious at the start, trying to curb the speed a little bit, which I did really well in. And the first half was great. And then as it got hotter, and I was just like, this is not sustainable for this long. So I just flipped my attitude and I was like, all right, we're having a party here today. So it kind of turned into a little victory lap for me, which was really nice. And just immediately all the pressure after that.
Good. I love the victory lap attitude. Isn't it the best? Like
I know. I was like
right,
high-fiving people. I'm stopping. I'm giving hugs. I've never done that before in my life. And you know, I just have like a newfound respect for myself as an athlete after that. So I was happy with it.
Good. I'm glad you were able to.
We'll get to mile.
I'm glad you were able to kind of just throw it away because you know you never know what race day is going to throw at you. So you have to be able to pivot really fast, and just as long as you enjoyed yourself, that's all that mattered.
Right. I know. And to your point, Maurice, it's kind of like we're so lucky and we're so grateful to be there, and we choose to do it. And there are people that can't. So you're kind of running for them, and you're running for the people that don't have the opportunity that we do. But it's just crazy how your perspective changes when you cross the start line in Hopkinton. It truly. And I didn't believe it until I got there. So
Jared, tell me about your morning. I know your morning might have had a little bit of a hiccup. You woke up, you got ready, you got rolling, you got out the door, then you had to turn around?
Yeah, so, you know, wake up, just a normal, regular marathon morning, just asking myself why I'm doing this again. But that's to say, yeah, so we had to be at the buses because I was with the adaptive athletes and the para athletes. So I got to ride a nice coach bus with them. But the kicker was you had to be there at 5:30 in the morning. Ooh. So an hour before everyone else, but well worth it. Well worth being, well worth it more so than riding in those school buses. But so the buses were at the Sheraton. It was about a mile away from where I was staying at. So it's like 5:15 in the morning. We're walking and we get almost to the buses. So we're about, almost a mile away from the hotel I was at. And I realized my wrist felt kind of light. And I'm like, this doesn't, it's like, it feels real airy. Like, what's going on here? And I looked down and I realized I don't have my watch. And so I was like, oh no. And so then I'm constantly, I'm thinking, what do I do? Like, well, I can take my phone. But I was like, in true runner fashion, I mean, you got to have your watch. It's a must. You got to have your watch, and you got to do what you got to do to get it. So I talked to Jordan. She's like, just go back and get it, and just you're gonna have to hurry your butt to get back here. So I was like, okay. Mind you, I wasn't wearing my running shoes. I was wearing UFO sandals. Yeah. So I was
shout out to UFOs.
So I immediately just turn around and I send it. I mean, I ran about a mile all the way back to the hotel. Everybody's looking at me like I'm kind of crazy, like I'm probably like an elite trying to get, my morning miles in, but I was not. And so I get all the way back up to the hotel. I run up there to my room, get my watch, get back down, and I run almost a mile all the way back. So by that time, I've got like 2.5 miles in, and I'm like, looks like I'm doing an ultra today. You know, so, but those sandals felt really good. I was like, I could probably run a marathon in those sandals legitimately. Like those were comfy. And there was no one on the streets, so I just booked it all the way down the streets. Again, yeah, people were looking at me crazy, but hey, you got to do what you got to do to get the watch. It's all about the watch game. So, so we make it onto the bus. We're going there. And so this little story will go like with the podcast name. So I just knew all morning, you got to do what you got to go poop in the morning. So that's my thing. I got to go in the morning before the start line. I didn't go yet. So I'm like freaking out on the bus. I'm like, what am I going to do? I was like, well, I guess I'll just go at the portage on and I hope it comes then. So I'm on the bus. We get to Hopkinton. Of course, all the buses are like in a bus jam. Well, of course it kicks in. Of course it kicks in. That's when I need to go, right? That's when I need to go. And I'm sitting there and I'm kind of fighting urge, because, you got anxiety going on. I have some coffee in me and none of that helped. So I'm like we just got to get to the tent. We got to get to the tent. The bus isn't moving. So I was like, I turn around, see the bathroom back there. And I was like, well, this will be another story for the grandkids. This will be another story. It's going to be a memorable one. So I go back there, I shut the door. I sit down. I'm doing my thing. And of course, the buses start back up and start moving. So now the bus, when it starts up, it's like shaking. So there I am. I got my hands out and I'm shaking. So at this point, I'm just trying to pinch it off, wipe, and get out of there without nothing going on. And of course, those coach buses, seats are tiny. I'm a big guy, so I barely fit in there. And it seems like they're only like an inch deep. So now I'm worried about it like touching me and stuff. And so again, we're bouncing around. And so finally, I pinch it off, I wipe, and I get out of there. And literally the whole bus is like, like laughing at me and everything. I'm like, well, again, like I said, I was like, well, it's a story for the grandkids. I feel a little bit lighter. We're good to go. So yeah, that was a solid little story there. But we get over to the tents. And so I was blessed enough to be in an adaptive para-athlete tent. And we were right next to elites, all next to elites in their tent, which I didn't know until like start. So I'll have to know that for like next year or a further year. But that tent was like amazing. It was super close to the start. So you didn't have to do the walk. Good. They literally just walk you right around the fence right there. And they put us in the back of wave one. So we didn't have to worry about people running past us for a long time. So it was awesome. And just being in that tent was so humbling. Because I still get imposter syndrome, being that I wasn't born with a disability, but now I do. And, being that, I can run pretty fast, I'm pretty active, I get imposter syndrome a lot. I really do. And so being amongst all these other adaptive athletes and para-athletes, it was a very humbling experience. Just made me more grateful, more thankful, and just really kind of narrowed me and zoned me back in. It took all the anxiety away. I started chatting with people because I love hearing their stories. And so it was like it was such a blessing to kind of be there with them. And again, a lot of times I run because I don't know how much longer I'll have this leg. If, who knows? And again, I almost died, and I just know it's a blessing every day to wake up. It's a blessing every day to run. And there's people that don't wake up, and there's people that can't run. And that is just like Allie said, and like Mo talked about too. It's that exact thing. I got to run. So meeting all them and hearing them stories, now it just pumped me up. It zoned me in because now like I'm running, I want to run for them because now that's my community. Like that is my community now. And it's my family. So hearing their stories, I was like, all right, hard charging. And I was like, let's go out there and get after it. And just again, it was kind of cool starting right behind, the wave right there in wave one. And it was kind of, it was amazing. I had it was a good run. It was a great day. It was cool. Like it was like waves. They call them waves. And so when you're running, there was like 3-4 miles where there was nobody around us. So it was cool. It was just us and like the para-athletes, adaptive athletes, but we're all spaced out because we're all different paces. And then all of a sudden, like mile 6 or 7, the wave of like wave 2 comes and everybody's running around you, running by you. And it was just like such a cool feeling. I can't explain it, but usually, you're fighting in between people to get through those first couple miles, but it was kind of cool just taking my time, running my race and letting everybody else kind of wave 2 came and then wave 3 came. And I kept on telling myself, well, we're not going to let wave 2 pass us. Well, we're not going to let wave 3 pass us, and just kept on doing that. But yeah, I had a really blessed morning. It was a great run, and I was very happy to see you guys at mile 19. I totally forgot you were going to even be out there. And so when you got a hold of me, I was like, whoa, I was so excited. And then, so thank you for being out there. I was so pumped to see you guys. Perfect time.
It was our pleasure. Trust me. Yeah.
Well, when we had you on, which was for John's OTR Live, that might have been the last. No, it was maybe the second to last OTR Live we did. We'll get back into those this summer. But when you came on, he's like, hey, can my girlfriend come on? We were like, absolutely. We want to hear the love story. You also teased that you had some epic running stories to share with us. And that's why we were like, well, wait, come on the pod next year in the springtime, like we have you on now. And then we can hear the stories from you. Because I think John was like, nah, dude, tell it later. This is my episode. So now it's your turn. I'm kidding, John. I'm kidding. But no, let's hear, tell us some of your favorite running stories. Good, bad, ugly, unfortunate, emotional, whatever. Let us know. We have no clue what you're about to tell us, and that's the best thing.
Oh, geez. Oh, my gosh. With the amount of time I've been running, I guess probably the stories are endless. I don't know, what kind of story do you want to hear? I guess my kids always used to want me to tell them bedtime stories when they were little. What kind of bedtime story do you want to hear about running?
Well, we already got the one about you getting hit by a car and running with the broken rib. So what else you got in that caliber, but maybe not hurting yourself so badly?
That caliber is called a Code Brown. A Code Brown is a oh crap moment. Yeah. So we love oh crap moment stories. Do you ever run into a bear or an alligator? Or as we know, a car, a deer.
I'm trying to think of as far as animals, I got I got bit by a dog once.
Oh, that's happened to me. Not running though.
Yeah, I was running, and so I used to run with my son when he was little. I pushed him in a jogging stroller, and I always was running with him. It was a great workout. It was extra added weight. I was pushing him up hills. I lived in a hilly area in Connecticut. And so he was always with me. But this one time, I can't remember where he was. Maybe my mom had him, but he wasn't with me. And I went out for the same route that I usually run with him. And as I'm running by this house that always has these barking dogs, one of the dogs was not chained up or on a leash or in the house. And it came barreling out. And I was like, oh, geez, because here's this dog running at me.
Yeah.
Now, this ferocious beast, this tiny little Dachshund, a hot dog, starts running at me and jumping. And I was like, is this really happening? I said, hey, come get your dog. And the lady was like, no, it's fine. And I was like, your dog's jumping at me. I said, I could have my kid with me. And at that moment, the dog jumped up and it bit me right on my butt. Grabbed a hold of it, took a piece of it, and I was like, "You got to be kidding me!" I was like, "It just took my butt." I got bit by a hot dog on my butt. I was like, so now my butt's bleeding, and I'm like, the shame of being bit by a hot dog. I was like, "This is not really happening." And they're like, "Are you going to call the cops on us?" And I was like, "I don't know, maybe." Mm-hmm. Oh my gosh. I was like, no, I'm not going to call the cops and be like, I got bit by a wiener dog.
I've always called those dogs ankle biters. Now I'm going to have to call them butt munchers.
Butt munchers. Yes. Because it totally munched my butt. Let's see. I used to run same era. I used to run, this is before racing and going to, do my current, kind of running that I do. This is just all running for the fun of it. Any moment I could, 4:00 in the morning, whatever. So I used to go out super early in the morning and I had all these really weird experiences. I was running one time down the road and I guess there was kids out partying still. And here I am, running down the road in my big old green vest. This is before tracer vest or anything like that.
Mhm.
I didn't have a headlamp. I think I had a flashlight with me. And they start throwing beer bottles at me. I was like, is this happening? I was like, well, I don't even know what to do. Like, I'm like just dodging beer bottles.
Oh my God.
Like,
I'm like hooligans.
I know. So I've had beer bottles tossed at me. I've had pickup trucks try to run me down before. I was running up a hill one time.
Cool.
And there was a truck just sitting there and he had his lights on. And I was like, then he starts revving his engine. I was like, oh no. No. Don't do it, dude. Don't do it. And he just comes barreling down the hill. And I was like, no. And I jumped into the ditch. But if I hadn't, he would have run me over.
Oh my God.
What the heck?
Wild. They're wild. This is like in New England too. So
that almost doesn't surprise me. With all the mass drivers and they're not.
Yeah, they're
the
mass
best.
holes.
Yeah, pretty much.
Probably had mass plates.
I'm trying to think of something crazy that's happened on a race.
Any epic DNFs?
Only one, just with John, and it wasn't really I've only DNF'd one race. It was the first and only 100-miler I went to go out on, and it was a terrible decision. I signed up for it, and we'd signed up for another race, and I was like, well, you'll run it with me, right? And he said, yeah, I guess I'll run it with you. We signed up for a fun half marathon in DC. And then I signed up for this 100-miler. And so he signed up for the 100-miler too. So now we're signed up for two races, but we're blowing off the half marathon, right? So we drive all the way to Pennsylvania. This is like a sad story. We drive all the way to Pennsylvania in the beginning of March. So it's frozen, right? It's cold. It's Pennsylvania. And we get out there and it's 13 degrees. So we start the race. It's super cold. And we do it's a looped race. It's 20-mile loops. And we didn't even stay together. I went ahead, I was running with people up ahead and he was behind. He's always a little slower on the trails than me anyway. And a lot of times I just want to run alone on the trails. And so, cause I just kind of get in my own head and I'm up ahead, but I knew I'm going to meet back up with him. We end up meeting back up. He's like, hey, I just can't get any speed. And the weather had started to turn. It was now sleeting and the temperature was dropping. And there's a section on the course that was about 8 miles of mud, just mud. So we went through it in the dark. It was gross. And it wasn't even you'd think it would freeze, right? But no, it was special magic mud that never froze. And so you're just going through the mud and I'm just this is disgusting. I brought extra shoes, which John never does that, but I was I'm bringing them. I might as well. I have more than one pair of trail shoes. So they're in my drop bag. We're going around for the second loop and now we're together and he's just he's it's going to be slow. But I was yeah, I want to stay together. I was having fun with the other people, but I wanted to be with him because it was 100 miles.
Yeah.
And so we get to the mud section again. So now this is round 2 mud. And we're, 30 miles in or so. We go through it and halfway through the mud section, I said, I think I have a stick in my shoe. And he goes, a stick? And I was yeah. And I was okay. So we sit down on a log and I go to pull my shoe off and the whole bottom is separated. I was oh dear. So my shoe had separated. Now I have another pair of shoes, but it's 15 miles away.
Oh no.
And I was oh no. And I was all right. And I looked into my shoe. I was well, that must be how the stick got in. It wasn't a stick. It was my toe. My toe had frozen and it felt like a foreign object to my other toes. So I was yeah, it's not a stick. It's just my toe. I just my other toes aren't recognizing it. So
oh no.
I'm just sitting there going, oh my gosh, what's happening? And this is right at the beginning of race season last year.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm just we had so many fun things planned. And I was just half marathons and just all sorts of things coming up. And I was right here at the beginning of race season, I was I'm going to lose toes. And it's just weather keeps dropping. Now it's snowing. And he's are you having any fun? I said, not really. I said, but I'm not in a million years going to say, I want to quit. I'm nope, no DNF. I'm not doing it. I'm not going to be the reason that he gets a DNF. And, I was toughing it out. And then he was like, listen, if you say you want to do it, I'll do it. And we could just do it together. And he's like, no harm, no foul. Nobody's, like, it's fine.
Yep.
I said, okay. I said, so you're not going to get mad? And he's like, no. I was like, because I really want to go home. So he's like, yeah, all right. So we decided to DNF, but we did DNF'd we made that decision about a mile after the aid station. So we had to go like another 6 miles with the knowing that we were going to be pulling out of the race, and it was like the longest 6 miles of our lives.
Oh my gosh.
So,
I am so proud of you guys for making it as far as you did in that race, because I would have looked at the weather and said, I'm DNSing this and not even giving it a shot.
By the time we had left, it was about 3 degrees.
Oh God.
And this was only about 40 miles into the race. So, I mean, we talked about it like after we made the decision that there's probably going to be hypothermia. There's definitely going to be, there could be loss of like skin or digits due to like frostbite. I already had like lost feeling in one of my toes, which I was like, it's probably going to come back, once I get a different shoe. But it was like, was it worth it? Is it worth it to stay and keep like chugging on? No, I don't think so. So
wow.
Yeah.
What was the finisher? Do you know the finisher rate that year for that race? I'd be shocked.
It wasn't great. Some people did become hypothermic and nobody died, but it was like, it wasn't great.
That's crazy. Oh, good for you guys for going that far. I don't think I could do that.
I'm trying to think, like, I know, like, now I feel like on the spot here about like I know I have good stories, but
well, give us a good story. Give us
a lot of them are about
good
poop,
that happened,
and nobody wants to hear about that. Like, there's always, she's like, I do.
That's what we're about, Denise. We love the poop stories.
I know that you're on the runs and you've got like the toilet paper motto, but yeah, it's always I was doing a trail. I was doing a trail run the other day, or no, it was like about a month ago. And I was like, I really had to go to the bathroom. We all started talking about porta potties, like, because we're trail runners and we were talking about like, I don't know, we got on this talk and I was like, this is making it so much worse. And I'm just like, I was telling him about the awesome porta potty at the end and how clean it is. And I'm like, it's such a rarity for a trail to have one of these. And they're like, oh yeah, that's really good. I was like, I need to stop talking about this. I got to go to the bathroom. And then I was like, guys, I'm just going to fall back. And so I let them go ahead. And I was like, oh, thank God. And as soon as they were out of sight, I just go drop trow. And I hear, hey, pull it up. And I was like, oh, no. There was a guy right behind me that had broken off from another group. We were out with multiple groups. And he had decided he wanted to go faster. They were going too slow. And he was looking for a place to go to the bathroom, but he was trying to catch up with us. And so that like he could, like do his business somewhere appropriate. And it just so happened that I just picked the worst moment and totally mooned the guy. And I'm just like, oh my God. And I was like, and so then I was like, okay. I'm going to go up here. And I totally passed him going to the bathroom too. So we were definitely, it was awkward at best.
Nobody talked. Nobody saw anything. We're just going to ignore this.
Nobody talked.
All right, that's not the photo we're talking about because there's Patrick and he's running, and we all know Patrick has done his 3 marathons and he's done. But until we get him to do another one,
nope.
All right, so that's not the photo.
I'll run for you, Patrick.
So here's where we're getting at. This is the fun part of the podcast. Here we go. Patrick reached out to me. God, Patrick, it had to be months ago, and you're like, hey. I got a content idea. Like, tell me what you think. Are you cool if I do this? And I'm like, well, we need to make sure Erica's okay, but I'm all for this. And you asked me, like, what question should I ask? And I just said, I don't know. You come up with it. You think about it. You do it. And, all I said, the only advice I gave you was do some practice. Do some practice running with the camera. We determined one thing. You got to do a bunch of short little videos, not one big long one, right? So you met Erica somewhere, 8.5 miles on the course, and you ran with her for a couple of miles, and you did a little Q&A.
Yeah. We let me set it up a little bit here, Eric. So these are questions that I have a buddy who has a boat, and we'll sit down at his boat slip, and as the drinks start flowing, our friends start coming up with these bizarre questions. And so these are called dock debates. I gathered these from my high school group and collected them, and we turned it into a little segment. I thought it would be kind of funny that with oxygen deprivation, because we're actually at the 9.9 mile mark. And I just thought it might be kind of fun to ask Erica these questions when she isn't thinking so clearly, especially because it's hot and humid.
Mm-hmm. I love it. So I preloaded these, and here we're going to go. So if you're watching on YouTube, you will actually get to see it. And if you're listening, you'll get to hear it. So check it out on YouTube if you want. And just remember, we're about an hour and 15 minutes into the pod. So here's the first one. This is pretty much the intro.
Yeah. All right. Good morning on the Runs podcast. This is Patrick Lieber, and we have 6-star Erica right here. Yes, we're taking a little break from walking.
Hot. It's really hot.
Yep. It's really hot. I had 72 waters that I gave away over at the my son's apartment. Save the last one for Erica. And what we're going to do today is we're going to ask her some questions. I'm calling it oxygen deprivation questions. And we'll see just how smart she is.
Oh, boy.
And how good she is at trivia.
Oh, no. Don't think less of me, people.
Okay.
All right. Well, that was a great little intro, Patrick, but let's get to the first question you had, and it was quite fitting, being about pigs.
All right. Question number 1. Most races have corrals, but down at the Flying Pig, we have pig pens. Are you offended by your pig pen assignment?
Absolutely not. They put me in the exact right pen. I'm so happy with it.
Okay, check. That's a good mark.
All right, Erica, what did you think about your pig pen assignment?
They really did put me in a good one. So I actually was in a corral higher. I was supposed to be in corral C, but I dropped down to corral D, just because I wanted to run with Dave, and you're allowed to drop back, but you can't go forward in your corral. So we still started off pretty early. I think we only started maybe 13 minutes past when the gun went off. And I was perfectly happy. We had plenty of space to run and lots of fun.
Did they look like pig pens, or did they just call it you're in a pig pen?
They just called it that because one of the other things that they do, you don't have a finish line, you have a finish swine. So like they were just very cute with their puns and their plays on words. Yeah, it's cute.
Everything about it they do that for. They label so many different things that we aren't thinking of right now, but that's what makes it fun. That's what makes it a festival environment, Erica.
Yes.
Don't you think?
Absolutely. I love it.
Just to help Eric out, just to help give him the visual.
All right. Well, I love how they do the pig pens there. But let's get to question number 2 about the Queen.
All right. Question number 2. You've been here for a couple of days now, Erica.
Yes, and it's been great.
And you've had plenty of time to study the city. Okay. Cincinnati is known as the Queen City. Why don't you tell all your followers, why is it known as the Queen City?
Because I'm here.
Yay!
I don't know the real reason, though, so I got to do my research.
Okay, I like your answer better, so I'm giving you credit for it.
All right, cool.
But in case anybody's interested, a long time ago, the newspaper labeled the city as the Queen City of the West. And that's the coolest thing to think about, is that Cincinnati used to be thought of as the West.
Right.
That is amazing if you look at a map.
It really is.
Anyways, fun fact. All right.
So I always thought the Queen City was the largest city in the state that wasn't a capital. So, for instance, Manchester, New Hampshire is the Queen City because it's not the capital, but it's the biggest city in the state. Same for Charlotte, North Carolina. So I've lived in 2 Queen cities. When you told me about this question, Patrick, beforehand, I thought I knew the answer, but I was wrong.
Yeah, there's a different history there. And I knew it was Charlotte. If you actually Google Queen City, Charlotte comes up first. And it talks about the history of Charlotte and stuff. So then I dug deeper into it, and it has a different history. The city of Cincinnati has a different history. So,
well, I honestly had no idea, so I was pulling that answer out of my butt.
But I gave you credit for it because it was a great answer.
Why, thank you. I tried.
I gave you credit for being creative.
That was the best I could do.
Well, Erica, all what we ask for is your best, and we love it when you give us your best. But sometimes you just do things weird in my mind, and when I heard the answer to this question, I was like, that's weird.
Okay, next question. Corn on the cob. Okay?
Yes.
People eat it one of two ways.
They go.
They either eat it
They do.
left to right, or they eat around the cob and then start another column. Do you eat your corn on the cob across, left to right, or around the cob?
I go around the cob.
Do you?
Yep.
Okay,
and
now.
I work my way from one end to the other.
Okay, now why? Why do you do
I
that?
have no idea.
Did your parents teach you that?
Subconsciously, maybe. No clue.
All right. A fun fact.
Yes.
Another fun fact about Erica.
Erica, corn on the cob. You go all the way around?
I mean, you start at one end and you just like turn and then you just go like.
No, it's like a typewriter. You got to go.
I don't like it that way. I wonder if it's just the way it gets stuck in my teeth. Like I don't know. It gets more on one side, but I'd rather be stuck in the middle. I don't know.
And then Patrick, you said there's two ways to eat corn on the cob: left to right or all the way around. What about right to left? Is that not allowed?
That's another thing. I go right to left. I mean, it might all look. Yeah, I go from the right end to the left side.
I don't know. Hey, you could also eat randomly.
Put it on my weird tab list.
You could also eat in random spots and make your corn on the cob look sick.
Yeah.
You can always cut it off the cob and eat it that way.
Yeah. Yeah. My 3-year-olds do that. There's like a couple little spots here and there, and then I finish it for them later. Yeah. But Erica goes all the way around. That was kind of weird. What do you guys think of that video I made, the teaser? And I like kind of took things from every little bit.
Great.
And I made sure to put in the one where you go, I go around.
People are definitely like, what the hell is she talking about?
That was great.
That's another question. People chime in. I'd love to see if I am the weird one eating corn.
Yeah.
How do you eat
They don't need to chime in. We already know that. But do chime in. Tell us what you do. Do you go all the way around, or do you go left to right, right to left? Are you like my 3-year-old twins who are just all over the map? Let us know. All right. Next question. I actually like this one. I was kind of curious too, and I heard it like, why do they call it that?
Okay, on to my favorite question. So, I had this asked of me from a Japanese colleague when he was picking on the English language.
Yes.
And he said, what does J stand for in the term jaywalking? Now, I'm going to give you a second to think about it. I can give you a hint. It's not our friend Jay Duncan.
Okay.
Has nothing to do with Jay. But why isn't it K-walking? Why isn't it P-walking? Vuvuzela's, right? So here we go, jaywalking.
Does the J stand for jerk walking or something?
Okay, well,
like
jerk walking.
You're actually close.
Okay.
All right.
Jerk walking.
Jerk walking. All right, here's what I learned. Believe it or not, the word J has one definition known and referred to as absent-mindedness. So it is absent-minded walking.
No way.
Yeah, isn't that cool? I mean, it makes sense.
I'm learning stuff.
All right.
I'm learning stuff.
I mean, I honestly had no idea. That's not something I've ever thought about. Like, that's just what it's called, jaywalking.
That's why it's
whatever.
a cool question. We take it for
is.
granted. We just take it for granted, right?
Don't be a jerk. Don't jaywalk.
During that entire time we're watching those videos, I missed a goal But the first period is over, the Bruins game, and they're up 1-0. Let's go, Bees! But that was interesting. I never knew that about jaywalking. So a theme to these questions was the Queen City, and also the Queen likes to drink tea.
Okay, next question. In the spirit of the earlier one about the Queen and royalty, next question is, how many spots of tea are there in a tither? How many spots of tea are there in a tither? But you gotta tell everybody why, too.
I don't have the foggiest clue.
Foggiest clue. You almost said the F word.
So, Patrick, you got to fill me in.
Okay, all right. And guess what your answer is? Correct. Because it's a fake question.
Oh, yes!
There's no such thing as a spot of a tea in a tither.
That makes me happy because I was like, I don't know.
All right.
Patrick over here throwing the curveballs. Like
fake question.
Fake question. I let you off the hook, too, because I'm telling you, down in our dock, we will talk for 20 minutes about that and get into a real debate and an argument.
Even though it's a fake question?
It's a fake question, yes. People will make up answers like they're confident, and nobody has any answer.
That is amazing. I wouldn't mind hanging out with you and your friends for one of your doc discussions or debates. Doc debates.
Doc debates.
Doc debates.
So good.
These are fun. These are becoming fun. All right. We got 3 more questions. Erica, real quick. How are you handling these questions? Are you oxygen deprived, or are you guys walking and running? Like you're running during the questions. Are you able to think?
So I can think because while we are running, he's actually running with me as we go, and I'm just hot. I'm warm, but we're running a relatively slow pace, so I can focus. I can breathe. If you asked me these at mile 18, Patrick, I would have been like,
okay.
Don't talk to him.
I made it
No,
easy.
you asked them at the perfect moment, so I could at least kind of form a thought.
Except you didn't know what a spot of tea is in a tither.
I have to say I'm not a tea drinker. I'm not a coffee drinker either. So that it could have been a real question. I still wouldn't have had a clue.
All right. Well, let's get some real questions. Let's go back to school.
All right, next question. So we all went to school and we all had grades A, B, C, D, and F. Okay. Tell everybody why we don't have a grade E. Why does it go A, B, C, D, F? Why don't we have E?
Because E is for excellent.
Oh,
and
you
people
got it.
would totally get mixed up.
You got it.
Did
you
I
did
really?
study.
That's just my thought.
She
E's
did her
also
homework.
For America, so either way, it's great.
That's the reason I heard we don't have E. I never knew that until I looked this up.
These questions, Patrick.
You got it. You got it. I didn't know that. You got that so quick. It made me feel bad. Like everybody knows this. Eric, did you know that answer?
No.
Again, I was pulling it out of my butt and I hoped I was right. So, but these are wicked fun questions. And I really was enjoying answering them because it took my mind off of being miserable for a few minutes. So
this should be like a thing you do all the time, Patrick. Like you should have your own show, marathon questions. You could call it, like you said, oxygen, whatever, deprivation, by chairman of the board.
You could ask these questions during your group runs with the NERC crew.
Yeah. That's true. No, they'll think I'm too weird. It just worked out well with your theme of on the runs here. So I don't know.
I'm very glad you did
this has turned into a great content piece. We have 2 more questions, and they are not going to disappoint.
Okay, question number 3. When you brush your teeth, do you put water on the toothbrush first and then toothpaste and then water afterwards? What order do you do it in? And tell everybody why.
I do water first, put the toothpaste, and also water after.
You're so weird.
Yeah, Bubbles, there it is. All right.
No,
Bubbles,
weird.
Right so far.
Bubbles.
100%.
Oh, Miss Bubbles. Bubbles.
Do you guys not do that? Like, is that a weird way to do it?
You
Like,
are so weird, Erica.
Bubbles. I've never thought of
literally how
bubbles.
you make the foam. Like when you brush your teeth, it makes your like all the bubbles get in between your teeth. That's how it gets clean. Like
You want it to show and all the bubbles show?
But let's go back to the beginning.
If I'm brushing my teeth alone, I'm all like, I don't care what it looks like. I get like all over my face.
Let's go back to the beginning. You put water on the toothbrush first?
Mm-hmm.
No.
That makes bubbles.
You put the toothpaste on and then you put water on top of the toothpaste.
I don't know. It's just that's just what I do. It's I don't know. Wet the bristles before and then
Can we convince you to try it differently?
Tonight?
Bubbles.
I will try it.
If you are
that was my
watching
oxygen deprivation.
If you are watching this on YouTube, and I really hope it goes on YouTube because we've had a couple some difficulties playing these videos. I want you to write in the comments, do you put on the toothpaste first and then water or water then toothpaste? I want to know.
Since my dad watches these YouTube videos. Hi, Dad.
Shout out Don.
And tell him that we're right. I mean, I don't know how you do it, but it must be a Hamill thing, okay?
Write it in the comments.
We're doing it the right way.
Yes. I love our favorite YouTube watcher, Don Hamill. Love you, buddy. Thank you. All right. We have one more question. Patrick, why don't you lead us into this question? This was the best question.
Yes, I had a good time with this one. I wanted to preface this that now I'm running with Erica, and I'm about to say this is an On the Runs exclusive, or I say something like that. And a couple runners over to my left hear me say that, and I'm building the question up and building it up, and they're slowing down. They want to hear the question. So I think I turned the camera on them eventually, and you may not be able to understand the background, but I had to explain that so you understand why I turned the camera, because these two guys were like, we're waiting to hear the answer. What's the, or no, we're waiting to hear the question. So they wanted to participate. So to your earlier comment, Eric, yeah, maybe this is a theme. You should go to these races and just run and record people and ask them the silliest questions.
You could have a sign.
Make a sign that says, "Can I ask you questions?"
Exactly, because I thought of this when you were doing the cheap marathon, Erica, because I knew this was happening, or I thought of it after you did it, that I could totally have done this at cheap, and we could be hanging out on the rail trail and put a sign out there that says, do you want to be on a segment of the pod where we ask you a random question while running? Like, we could totally do this. I think we should try it for cheap next year. Let's not run cheap.
I'm running cheap next year.
All right, we'll find another race we can do it at. We'll go to a race and do this. Maybe Manchester if I'm not running Manchester. But all right,
there we go.
Last question. It was good. Patrick, great job with these, man.
Thank you.
Okay, here we go. Final question. And an OTR exclusive. Okay? Erica has to choose one of these. Okay? What would you rather do? Which is the better of the two? Okay?
Yeah.
Clogging the toilet on a first date. Or clogging the toilet on your first day at work and everybody would know it's you. OTR exclusive.
Let's go first date because there will not be a second date.
Okay. And
if there is, that person is my soulmate and they won't care.
There they are.
Yeah. I think she gets credit. They all do. The two gentlemen in front of us get credit too for that.
Love it.
Because it would live in infamy.
It would.
Even
I
if-
would be known as the office pooper or something.
The office pooper.
Even if you left the company, they would still say to the newbies who came in, hey, you're not going to believe this Erica we used to have. All right, folks. Hope you enjoyed it. We're out here sweating a little bit.
A lot.
I'm going back. Erica's at about the 10.5 mile mark now. So.
Oh, I hit 11, Patrick.
Did you? Oh,
yeah.
We're having so much fun, we lost track.
I made him run a mile with me.
All right, everybody. Take care.
Bye.
Go, Erica. 6-star Erica.
Go, Erica.
Nashua, 6-star Erica.
The best freaking question. So you saw those guys in it, and they were literally like, I was watching them before I answered, and the guy to the left goes,
Did he really?
Pick number one. Pick number one. And I was like, yes, I'm going to pick the first answer because You can't. Oh my gosh. I would hate to be the office pooper.
The office pooper.
I
All
mean,
right, so
everybody's going to know.
So I want to make this question better, and I'm not giving you the solution now, but I think the obvious answer was on the date because there won't be a second date.
Yes.
So
Yes.
you need to ask the
Unless
same.
they're your soulmate.
Right. But you need to keep this question, but change it up. Don't ask about the date. So have it be clogging the toilet at work or clogging the toilet at like a Christmas party with all your best friends and family, right? Don't give her the out of, well, there won't be a date number 2.
Okay.
So work and
Two
family.
different groups. Two different groups.
That you can't avoid.
Yeah.
So that's how I think you can improve. It's the best question, but I think like everything, it can improve.
Sure.
Everyone's going to answer first date. But like, yeah, if you do work first week
You
on
might
the
get the
job.
real brave one who's going to establish dominance
And
at their
everybody knows
job.
whether it's your
My
family,
bathroom.
whether it's your family issue or your work issue, everybody's going to know. However that happens or why it happens. Yeah,
I
you're
mean,
right.
what's
That makes
worse
it harder.
is if you do it at a Christmas party and all of your family knows, they're gonna like never let you live it down for the rest of your life.
You could even do a Christmas party. Would it rather be a work Christmas party or a family Christmas party?
So wait a minute, if it's a work Christmas party and people would know it was you.
Yes. Oh yeah. Everybody knows.
then
Everybody
I'd have to go
knows.
family Christmas party.
I love
damn
Dane
it, I
Cook.
don't know.
I'm a big Dane Cook fan. When he was like, when we were in college, Erica, back in the day, back when we met.
Oh, that was his good stuff.
Yes, it was
good
great.
stuff.
And there's the classic one of when you go to party, I want you to go in the closet and shit on the coats.
Yes, I remember that.
Shit on the coats, and then someone will look and notice and go, somebody shit on the coach. And then you walk in there and go, I hope it wasn't on my coat. Or you could walk up to it and go, I think someone shit on the coat. Yeah, I can smell it. It's over here. Somebody shit on the coat.
Oh my God.
Dane Cook was awesome. The seatbelt when he's getting head on his first date and he's just going to talk to the seatbelt. I'm gonna go. There's so many. Or my favorite, I still talk about this one. Oh no, there's a couple. There's the one about the guy at work that nobody likes. But you
Fucking
get that
Brian.
guy. You get that guy candy because one day he's going to come there. He's going to shoot up the place, but he's going to come to your stall and he's going to go, "Thanks for the candy."
I thought this was the fucking Brian's coming.
Oh, well, no, that's so fucking Brian's coming, and like Karen's always a bag of douche. How funny is that? He picked the name Karen, and then Karen 20 years later became, the don't be a Karen.
Oh, yeah.
My favorite though is car alarm.
Oh, you did this one.
Yeah, you're like, it could happen to me right now. I'm on Water Street in Tampa, and then someone's car could be going off, and I'd be like making up words for it. Hello?
The one.
I'm a car. Oi,
The one I
it's my
always-
blood.
The one I always think of is like, I hate that it's Mary, but how did Mary die? A tire hit her in the face. That's a NASCAR thing. So.
It was, yeah.
Tire. That's I don't know why that's the one that just pops.
Oh, there's so many. Like I still have those on my original iPod that is still in my truck and still works when it's plugged in all the time. Yeah.
Good for you.
Yeah. Dane Cook,
man.
thank you for the laughs, man. Thank you for the laughs, the good times.
Which is awesome. And then we decide on who's running, who's walking, who's running we all run at different paces. And one of the rules of the Bulldogs is that you never run alone. And I think that's the most important part.
Wonderful. Yes. I was going to ask about that.
And then we usually have all types of different paces. People are walking, people are running, and all sorts of different distances. When it's marathon season, it tends to be a little bit longer, but people are always training for different types of races, whether it be 5K, 10K, half marathons. And then when it is full circle is just on my mind. This past Saturday at Chestnut Hill, we had one person running full circle and 30 different people who showed up for him. And we had him cheering while he was running his 5K around the reservoir. With people brought signs, people were cheering him on. And then we had a nice little presentation about like kind words from wellness sponsor, who was myself. And then he got to talk about what the full circle program meant for him. And it's just like, it's amazing, honestly, like having 30 people come, mostly strangers, honestly, to Alex, who was running the full circle, to show up and cheer him on. Just
how do they know about it? Like, is there a Facebook group page? Is there massive group text? How does someone say, hey, Alex is having his full circle run this weekend? How does that word get out? And then 30 strangers who've never met him come out there to support him.
Well, they may have met him before, but like, that was my point. Yes, but we have a Facebook group, the Boston Bulldogs members page. When you join the Bulldogs officially, you get to join the Facebook group as well. And then we post about all of our runs, all of our events. That's kind of our like main point of communication on that Facebook group.
That's so amazing, you guys.
Ashley, I got a question for you. I want to go back to that first Saturday morning that Megan took you to at 6:30 in the morning. You only ran maybe 100 yards, you said, right? And then you lit up another cigarette. Did the group hang out after? Do they just run and then get their miles in? And then it's like, hey, thanks. Hope you come back next week. Or did they do anything to like hook you in to get you back the next week? Because you only ran, you were kind of like, oh, this isn't for me. You only did 100 yards, you said.
Yeah, so every chapter run, like including that day for me, there's just a community connection after. So when people finish their runs, we usually wait for the last person to finish or the last group to finish. And there's just, it's just almost like fellowshipping, like how it would be in AA, but it's different because we're all celebrating each other's run or we're talking about what we're going to do for the rest of the day. And we have the drinks and snacks that people usually grab at the end. And we just kind of chit chat and catch up on how their week's been going. So that's our opportunity to dump our bucket, right? Because the meeting on the pavement is kind of what we call it. So for those of us that are in recovery that come to the Bulldogs, it's great because you have a mixture of people that are not in recovery or affected by addiction. And then you have those of us that do practice wellness and sobriety. And the conversations that can build from there, it's like advice, like someone's coming to you for advice on how they can help their son who's struggling. And you've been in that position, so you can do that for them. Or somebody at the race, like for me that day, it was, don't worry, like this isn't the end of the line. Like you have to start somewhere. It was words of encouragement. It was don't give up, like come back next week, just keep showing up for yourself and you will go farther. You will get better. It will come easier.
So we have a big social component. You know, a lot of people who were in recovery and running before the Bulldogs or they're joined another running club. There's so much alcohol that's associated with running clubs and road races. So the fact that we can be a running club and it's drug and alcohol free and we do a lot of social things. I think Monday night there, everybody's going out for pizza. Mm-hmm. And so the social component. And
tonight? Where? I'm coming. I love pizza.
To be able to just be totally yourself. And one of the things about running, and you know this, when you run with somebody, you're not making that direct eye contact, so you tend to be very honest and open. You don't process before you say. And that is transformative. But, you know, to be able to just have fun, and this is something I've really wanted to bring to the table, is like, you don't need to get effed up to have a good time. That you've been manipulated by this culture to think that you need to be high to have fun. We have so much fun sober. We don't want to drink. We don't want to get high because we're enjoying our life. We're enjoying one another. We're enjoying the things we're doing together. So that's another big aspect of the Bulldogs, the social component without the alcohol and drugs.
I also like that the Bulldogs they encourage you to keep going. Like if you're new to running, they're going to tell you, hey, I know this sucks right now, but just give it a shot. And you're going to eventually get used to it. You're going to love it. And that's very important too, just to work on that consistency thing, because getting started is always the hardest part.
And with that being said, like, what did Megan say to you after that first day?
You did it. You showed up. You know, it was honestly just celebration. She was like, how do you feel? And I was like, I feel like I just showed up for a running club and I don't run. And she's like, well, do you want to come back? And I was like, absolutely. Everybody was so nice. And I don't want to just sit inside by myself. I want to come out and see if I can go as far as you guys are going. So I have to start somewhere. And she would take me right shortly after that is when marathon training started that year. And she was on the marathon team and so were a couple of other Bulldogs. So I'd leave even earlier with her for her long runs. And I would stay and hang out in the car for a little bit and try to time it right to run out Chestnut Hill, like out Comm Ave, and catch them at the end of their runs, just to kind of feel like I was a part of it. And they loved it. They welcomed me. It wasn't like, no, we're the marathon team. You can't come join us. They inspired me and they locked me in and they asked me how I'm doing. Meanwhile, I just crushed 18 miles and I'm trying my hardest to crush 2. But it didn't feel like that. It felt like they were meeting me where I was at and there was no judgment. And somebody always lingered behind to let me shuffle on behind them. So it was great.
I was wearing like the Nike Vaporflies and those don't have good tread. I'm slipping all over the rocks and it's kind of a shit show. But I mean, the race is still great. Had a good time, but it throws a little wrench in your plan.
It's funny how you describe that, like, you know, the shit show. And it was a great time, though, because I described my first marathon like that with the Marine Corps, where it just like kind of fell apart in every way.
That was your
Hey,
first.
Blake,
yes, sir.
Spare no details.
Oh, it was brutal. Yeah, I won't hold back. Like, dude, it was a fucking bloodbath out there. So that was my first marathon because, like, I was running for a while, right? I had been running at that point for like a year and a half, like doing half marathons, being pretty fast, whatever. And I've seen all my friends doing marathons, and I'm like, I feel like I'm just gonna scratch the itch at some point, just do the thing. And I had other friends being like, you can totally do it. Like, you can just do it right now. You don't have to train. Like, just do it. You're really good at running. I'm like, well, no, I'm going to train. I'm not that stupid.
Yeah, okay. I was like,
But, you know, they were like, you've done a half. You can do a full. And I'm like, I get where they're coming with that mindset of like, you can just progressively gaslight the body into doing some really crazy shit. That's all running is.
Oh, I like how you worded that. You gaslight the body into it.
Running is just gaslighting the body into doing some insane shit at the end of the day. That's what we do. But so finally I was like, I'm going to do a marathon. And I was like looking around and I knew the majors obviously were there, but they're harder to get into for obvious reasons. And then I was like, Marine Corps. That seems like a pretty big major marathon. It's well known. It'll be well run, like operationally speaking. And some pretty famous people have run it. And my grandfather was an Army guy, admittedly, but the Army doesn't have a marathon, so that's not my fault. But I joked with some members of the family who are Army, and I was like, I know, guys, it's the Marines, but they're the only ones with the 26.2, so they understood. They forgave me for that one.
What year was this?
This was this past one. This was 2023. The Marine Corps. And I was great training cycle, pretty much like had a completely healthy, there it is, some great shots. Glad I paid for the photo package because it was really unique opportunity for some of the photos. Hot as balls, like end of October. If you zoom in on one of them, not that one.
I'm not zooming in.
No, there's one of them though. If you zoom in, that you can actually see the bloody nipples, which we'll get to.
You had the bloody nipples, or
I don't have to zoom in to see.
Oh no!
There he is.
So Blake, what are we talking for heat? Like, how hot did it actually get that day?
So it got up to, from what I remember, it got up to like 80-ish degrees base temperature.
Oh my god!
And then that's good.
Your poor nips.
At least you're smiling
through the pain, because I was in pain at that point for sure. I kind of remember the mile marker. That's after 16, I think. But and the humidity was like 85%. Like, it was hot.
Oh god, yeah, so that's like, brutal.
After mile like 15 or 16, my hip flexors started locking up on me, and then my calves started locking up, my quads started locking up. But I was still pretty good. Like, I finished my 18 miles faster than my training 18 miles. That was pretty good. But then, like, once the calves really locked up on me, I was like, oh, these could blow at like any time. Like, I could just keep going. Just like, there it goes. He's everywhere. Oh my God. And I was like, I want to finish this race. I will definitely have to adjust in the moment, like, expectations for the time.
Mm-hmm.
But I was like, I must finish this race. And I was seeing just like the scariest shit out there on the course, like the little medical cart zipping around, picking people up off the pavements, people that looked like me, like my fitness age, my age, running ability, whatever, like running along, and then just like they got sniped from behind by a rifleman. They just they just drop, and I'm like, holy shit! Like, am I next? Like what's happening? Because
that heat just creeps up on you,
it really
right?
creeps up.
Yeah,
a lot of what I heard from Boston this year for sure, and because I was having a lot of those same symptoms, I was like kind of getting in my head about it. Like, am I next? Like, am I about to go down here?
Oh no!
Really brutal fashion. I heard they airlifted someone off the course, like to a hospital.
Oh my God, that's terrifying.
That's how bad it got. By mile like 22 or 23, I made friends with this kid who looked around my age, and we were both like run, walk, hobbling at the same time, like pretty much in the same, the pain cave, as we call it, right?
Yeah.
And got his name and introduced myself, said where I was from. He said where he was from. And I was like, we're going to finish this marathon. Like, we got this. And we ran, walked together for a while. He's like, I don't want to cost you sub 4. Like, just go. And I was like, no, put your arm around me. Like, we're going to get you as close to the finish as we can get you. So I put his arm around me, and I chucked my empty water bottle away. And I was like, it's a $20 bottle. Whatever.
Yeah.
And I carried him for a while, and he's like, go. And I was like, all right, as long as you're sure. I ran up that little hill. For anyone who's done Marine Corps, they throw a little hill, and right at the end, at like the 26 miles,
of course,
there's a little hill to climb to get to the finish. And I did manage that climb and turned around, and he finished as well, which was great.
Great.
But I made the rookie move of not moving after crossing the finish line. So all the blood just like soared to my brain at once. And I just dropped like a sack of potatoes and had to get carried to medical by these big Marines, which was pretty fun. I'm not going to lie. That was nice. After 26 miles of hell, it was nice to just have someone
carried.
I'm not going to lie. So for all the damsels in distress out there, I get it. I get it. But they were like doing the IV with me. They were like, what's your name? How old you are? I got my age wrong. It was great. Within a week and I couldn't do stairs for a while. Going up wasn't the problem, actually. It's going down that was the problem. People are always like, going upstairs sucks. I'm like, going up was aces. Going down, fucking miserable.
Down is the worst.
I feel like a fucking penguin waddling down the stairs when I'm.
You have to go backwards sometimes.
I have to do like 1 foot down at a time. Like
it was pain, just pain. Just the IT bands, the hip flex, just pain. I think part of me died on that course because I'm still dealing with some tendonitis-like issues.
Oh man!
And I definitely think part of it is like coming back too soon from the marathon and running fast again. I didn't take adequate multiple weeks or a couple weeks off, whatever it is.
Gotcha.
But when I described that day, like how hard it was, how miserable, how my cap guards came off at mile 16, so I was just bleeding from the nipples, of course.
Oh no!
It's just a hellscape of a day. But I'm like, I would do it. It took me a week to be like, I would do another marathon. I would totally do it again. Let's go do it right now.
Yeah.
And my friend was like, she at one point she was like, why? Like, it's so miserable the way you made it. Why? And I was like, honestly, because for me, running has brought me a lot of mental health and a lot of mental peace and joy.
Yes.
As someone who actively battles depression, I like being out there with my thoughts, my miles, my pace, doing my thing.
Let's just go, Jason, chapstick and tights. Tell me about this.
So this would be your Code Brown moment. So
jumping right in, yes.
So
this is my favorite story he tells.
So again, Will, I'm going to use Will a lot because Will is my buddy, and Will is very opinionated. And so I'm going down the mountain mist, and I need some running tights. And I'm talking to Will, and I'm like, I need some running tights. And he's like, so he immediately shoots off about 3 different brands of running tights that works for him. And so I get to REI. I go to REI and I pick, and I'm like, okay, what works for me? And so North Face has always been a tried and true brand for me. Okay, so I go in and I look and I find a pair of some really nice North Face running tights. They're very expensive. They look nice. I put them on. They fit. I walk out the store with them. And I wake up and I go down to run Mountain Mist. It's very, very cold. It's like, I don't know, it's like probably in the mid-20s because the race is in January and it's in Huntsville and it's just a super cold race. And so anyway, I put the tights on and I'm running and the race is going actually very well for me. I'm not having any issues whatsoever. And then I get about 12 miles, 13 miles in. It's a 50K, by the way. And I start feeling, a little bit of discomfort down low. And
Sarah's just laughing. I love this.
And so I go in and I have my pack and I'm a very prepared person. Okay. I'm a manager by trade, so I'm very organized and I always have a plan. And so I open my Solomon pack where I have my bag of all my trusty stuff is, and everything is there but lubrication products. And so the area that I was having problems was the old Johnson area. So I'm going up this huge climb and it is hurting like terribly and it's getting progressively worse. So I'm asking everybody I'm walking by, I'm like, do you have anything whatsoever? Vaseline packs, anything. And so I run by a lady and I'm like, do you have any sort of stuff? And she pulls out a tube of chapstick and is like, would you like to use this? And I'm like, first off, I was like offended. I'm like, how small do you think it is here? I mean, come on, cut me some slack here. And so the run became a walk. The walk became a hobble. And I get into the 22-mile aid station of a 50K. And that race doesn't get hard until after 22 miles. The last the last 9 miles are like hard ass miles. And so I knew what was ahead of me. And I was like, there is no way I'm going to be able to finish this race. And so I go to the lady at the counter and I'm like, I'm hurt. I've got some issues. And she's like, what's wrong? And I'm like, my dick is chapped. And she's like, she looked at me and she kind of rolled her eyes. And I'm like, no, it's bad. I'm like, we're like at blood level here. And she's like ignoring me. And this old man, bless his heart, walked over and he's like, son, come over here and let me talk to you. So I walk over to him and I'm like, he's like, what's going on? And I'm like, my dick is severely chapped. I'm like, I can't walk very well. I'm like, it's high level, like we're at like the blood level. And he said,
it's a problem.
He's like, I'll give you a ride back to the starting line because they were going to make me wait. The lady was going to make me wait. And so he gave me a ride back, and the entire time back, he was like, you did the right thing. He goes, you would have been in bad shape if you would have continued on. So yeah, I DNF'd because of a chapped dick. So code brown is make sure you bring the Body Glide.
That is a code brown. Holy
you were
shit.
free balling in a brand new pair of tights.
Yes.
Do you normally wear tights, and would you normally wear underwear with it, or are you just
no.
I don't know how it works as a dude.
No, I free ball in a pair of tights, but normally, and you're going to laugh at this, the tights that I wear are like $10 Old Navy tights. So the moral to the story is $10 Old Navy tights will not chap your dick, but $120 North Face tights will. So, yeah.
Expensive isn't always better.
And so I text my friend Will and Garrett and John, and Will was like, "You didn't listen to me, you asshole. You should have bought the Under Armour tights that I told you to buy, and you wouldn't have had these problems." But the real problem was I didn't bring my squirrel's nut butter. So there you go.
So you got to tell me what essentials do you normally pack in your Solomon pack? If Body Glide or squirrel nut butter isn't one of them.
It is.
It just didn't make it in there that day?
Well, so what I did was I threw a packable jacket in the bag and had forgotten that I had taken my bag of supplies out. And so when I lifted the bag, it felt similar to the weight. And then I came home from the race, and lo and behold, in the closet was my bag of supplies, which is like the space blanket, and there's these like this cream you can get. It's used for like incontinence in nursing homes, and it's like a barrier ointment, and I've got like 10 packs of that stuff. And if I'd have had that, I would have been straight money.
Would have been good to go.
I would have been good to go, but I didn't have it. So yeah. So I didn't finish.
Lesson learned.
Lesson learned.
How long were you out for?
How long was I what?
Oh, the healing process for dick chafe. I don't know.
I was
What's the recovery time on a dick chafe?
For me.
Wait, are we talking about running? Or are we talking about?
We're talking about it all. We were down for the count for probably about 4 days. A good 4 days. Because I mean, like, it's one of those things where you pull back your shorts and you look down and you're like, oh no, because it's like I had never had anything that severe happen before of that magnitude, because like when you're a guy, and obviously Erica doesn't understand, but Eric and Garrett, you understand, things happen down there from time to time. You may get a little irritated. Something may rub the wrong way, but like you never have anything like, it doesn't look, hold on. It doesn't look like this red, okay?
Put your pants back on.
I'm just like, where is he going with this?
So anyway, it was really bad. And then I had to come on the podcast and tell people what happened. But
that's good though. Transparency. You're open and honest. Like that is.
I'm just
key.
like cringing over how bad that shower must have been that night. I am prone to chafing, and I chafe like inner thigh area, just not junk, I guess.
I'm cringing right now.
I know
just
how
thinking about
terrible it feels when you have to shower after that, and I am so sorry.
Yeah, it was. Let me tell you, I turned the water on and it hit. And it hurt so bad. I opened my mouth for something to come out, and there was nothing but like a small squeal. And my wife walked in, and she we have a really big shower. We have a super big shower, and she how bad is it? She opened the door, and she's like, oh, and then closed the door and just like walked off. And that's when like that it's at a really bad level. When she just looks
I can't help you.
Yeah, she just is like, sorry, I'm done with this situation. You're on your own. So yeah.
That's awful.
Have you guys ever seen the movie Heavyweights with Ben Stiller at the fat camp?
Mm-hmm.
Instantly, I'm thinking of the scene where the kid is in love with the hot nurse, and he walks by the bush of poison ivy, and he's like, I'm going to take off all my clothes and jump in this poison ivy bush and then go visit the nurse.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Bad
that
idea.
is an all-time classic Code Brown story, and I don't know if it will ever be topped. Wow. You know what I love about you is that you do all these different kind of races. You're doing or just outdoor activities, the guiding, the exterior races, the ultra marathons. You also like had this business dream, and it kind of got laughed at, or I don't know if that's the right word, but it kind of got like just no. And you kept it on the back burner. And you're like, I'm not going to forget about this because I believe it will work. Tell us about Relay Goods. Give us the entire story from like day one when you thought of it, how it went on the back burner, and where you are today.
You bet. So I had, when I got done guiding, I was never going to be like a traditional office environment. I would not last in those areas. And the handful of times that I tried, it was always a disaster. And so if you are like in being newly married, guiding when you're gone for weeks at a time was not real conducive to like, being a good hubby. And so, but working in an outdoor store or, those kind of things that ended up being great. And I had worked at this climbing gym that had a big outdoor store. And it turns out like I loved the retail side of it. And as I got more into ultras and the trail stuff, kind of away from the guiding things, there was a couple of running stores and triathlon shops in Richmond, and I loved them. And so when we had lived out east, and then when we went back to the Dallas area, there was my high school running store. I was like, oh, I totally get this, and I went to work for those guys, this wonderful family down there, and I worked for them for a long time. I led their training programs. We opened new stores, but with a 5 or 6 store operation, there's a certain limits to how high you can go in the organization. And so I brought them a plan to start an e-commerce business for them. And this was really early on in kind of e-commerce days. And it just wasn't one on their roadmap at the time, wasn't something that they wanted to do. And I thought, well, how hard could this be? And that is also, this coincides also right with the minimalist movement is at its height. And I loved it. That was the idea that people were talking about running technique in the same way that they talk about swimming and biking technique was this very natural thing for me. And I felt like when I worked with customers, I'd never say, here's one way to run, or you need to run without shoes. But the idea that you could introduce technique so that somebody could feel like they were in greater control over their run. And there was a couple of best practices that were very low risk, very high reward that people could practice. That the ethos of that just felt really good. And so I had started an e-commerce running store that was really aligned with that. And so at the time we had a teaching component, and so I was teaching classes, running technique classes all over the country. And then we had an e-commerce business where you got done with the class and we could sell you shoes, and everything was very, very lightweight, very thin, really complementary to what we were doing. Turns out I was great at the teaching part, and I was terrible at the e-commerce part. And because I kept thinking, well, what we'll do is the magic of the in-store experience, we're going to bring that online. And we did thank you cards. We had built this video recommendation system. There were some parts of it that ended up being really good, but the sum of it wasn't great. And what the consumer wants when they leave their house, they drive to a store, they go in the parking lot, they park their car. Like there's a lot of energy and effort that goes to getting that in-person experience. And e-commerce, the value proposition is just different. And a lot of times people aren't they're not trying to shop for a pair of shoes or be fit. They're looking for something specific. And then the big differentiator, because you can compare a lot of stores, is who has the best price on this and who can ship it the fastest. And at one point, whenever the outline for the on the runs came up of like, oh, what was that really that really hard moment? I'm a couple years into this, it's not going well, and I'm just so surprised that my best effort is not resulting in success. That never crossed my mind. The idea that I would try my best and it wouldn't work out never was on the radar. And so we go to an expo. We are really tight on money. I need a big win at this expo. And so I'm thinking I can go do a dog and pony show, and I'm going to charisma this thing up, and we're going to sell a bunch of shoes. And we didn't sell anything at this expo. Aww. And so I'm coming home. I'm really stressed. I'm well past burned out. And so I go to this drugstore that's got like a nurse there, like a CVS or something like that. And like, hey, could you could you check my heart rate and stuff? Like something just feels a little off. And so they take me in this little back room. This very nice woman puts the arm around me so she can check my blood pressure. And she's making small talk like, oh, what do you do? And I'm just so despondent at this point that I am like, well, I'll never see this woman again. And so I'm like, I run this online running store business that I think I totally misjudged. And I think I'm wildly underqualified to do this. I'm a nice guy and I know a lot about running, but like digital ads and inventory management, it turns out I am not very good at that. And, she's like, well, how's it going? And I say, it's really hard. It's not going very good. And I'm just not sure. I'm not sure. And I have no idea why I'm being so honest or vulnerable. And then it's quiet for a couple moments. And she kind of out of the corner of her mouth under her breath goes, oh, maybe it's not working. And she says it and I can feel these big old alligator tears. And she looks at me, she goes, oh, honey, I mean the machine, not your business. But it was like this really pivotal moment of like, it wasn't working. And my skill set at that time wasn't going to make it work. And within a couple days, we started on, what are we going to do next? And if it turns out that all the extra special touches that we had, if customers didn't love that, well, then let's get this stuff priced as aggressively as we can in front of as many people as we can. And let's clear the inventory and figure out what we're going to do next. And we had written an API that connected our e-commerce store to an eBay store to an Amazon store, which we were totally not allowed to do. But desperate times call for desperate measures. And amazingly, that worked better than anything we had ever done before. It's
no way.
And it worked for a lot of reasons. But as a couple of weeks go by, we've got our head a little bit above water. And I'm lamenting with a buddy of mine who owned a running store here in town of the internet, and can you believe customers return stuff and this and that. And I tell him what we're working on, and he says, "Hey, well, if you're getting good at getting rid of stuff, I've got a bunch of things left over from the Richmond Marathon that are sitting, right by our staff bathroom. If you want to take a crack at those." And I go to get this shipment, and at this point we have less than no money is, and it's the most random, like I don't want to use the word crap, but in lieu of a better phrase, it's not very. I know enough about running stuff. Really, stuff.
Yeah,
stuff with a capital S. Yeah, and but we take these items, we run it through our system, and amazingly, we move through this. And when I go to bring the guy his check, he doesn't ask how we do it, and he doesn't really care. And so I'm like, well, I know enough about the running industry. Like everybody's got a little bit of stuff that's in their stores, because every year a new version of the same thing comes out. And so retailers bear the burden of when a model is right at the end of its season, you don't want to order too much because you've got the new one coming out, and typically pricing restrictions have been removed. And so you get in this little bit of a gray area. You want to have enough that you don't miss any sales, but you don't want to order too much, knowing that you're going to really lean into the full price things when the new version of that comes out. And so I just called one buddy after another, and it turns out everybody had the same problem. And kind of version 2.0 of that was we were helping retailers to turn their excess and surplus inventory. We were really trying to help turn that into cash so that they could grow their businesses. Nobody we ever worked with was like, well, I've got 200 units and I'm going to get cash for that and go on a vacation. It was like, hey, now this frees up some cash so that we can hire more staff, that we can order more inventory. Like it was this really great way to activate the capital that was stuck in older inventory and to be able to use it to grow their business. And we could do it in a really clean and easy way. And then before we knew it, we had hundreds of stores across the country that were clients, and many of whom are still clients and friends today. And at about that time, the brands were trying to decide what were they going to do on Amazon. And what most of them decided was they were going to take their top 1% of all specialty retailers, and they were going to give them permissions to open stores on Amazon and to sell those. And if you're a retailer, making money when the doors are closed is a really compelling value proposition. We had enough experience on Amazon that some of those liquidation and excess clients, they contacted us and said, "Hey, we've got permissions. Could you help us build a business here?" And we did a little bit of fudging. We knew enough to be dangerous, and at least we were nice people who'd had an exchange of commerce, and we knew more than they did. That was kind of the qualifications. And so early on, we helped to build those businesses. We got some really early great home runs, and so called this 2018, 2017, somewhere around there. And so while we're high-fiving, we're like, holy cow, we've got this liquidation business. We got this Amazon consulting business. This is great. And as the consulting business grew, the amount of returns started kind of piling up. And so we would, like everybody who works in a running store, and if anybody says that they don't do this, they're lying, is if a customer makes a return, like, oh, I didn't like this size, but it was in your size and you could stand the color, it's a utilitarian item. You're going to get like, I'm going to beat the crap out of this. We got a credit for it from the brand. And so they just didn't like the color. Boom. New shoes for Gleason, or new to me.
Yes.
Yeah.
So we would take some, we would give a lot away. We'd give them to our kids, staff. But then after like the second and third pallet arrived, and then when the fourth and the fifth ones arrived, it then just became a space issue that we were unprepared for, because our consulting business, the volume was getting to be enough where returns were really becoming a problem. So we called the brands and said, what do you want us to do with this? We're just running out of space. And they said, you can do whatever you want, just don't send it here. And we had this hypothesis of, well, if it's good enough for us to take and we're going to run and train in it, and shoes are getting to be really expensive.
Oh God, yeah.
People will like this, because there's not. And our big challenge was they weren't used, but they weren't new. Like there was this space between new and used. And so we put together a website and this really slick presentation for the brands. We're like, hey, well, we've got something we think you're really going to like. This is going to solve a lot of problems, and it's going to make really high quality product accessible to a wider audience of people. And we think that rather than losing these customers to eBay or Poshmark, you can now have like a kind of a brand directed solution for it. And when we proposed it, so you use the word laughed off of calls, that is 100% accurate, because the brands had this very binary way of thinking of it's either new or it's used. And people do not want used shoes, and that's gross. And I think what they were thinking was people made returns after they put 100 miles on it and they didn't like it. And there was just this disconnect between what was getting returned and what was its condition. And so we kept this thing on the back burner, still actively kind of working to grow our other businesses. And then when the pandemic hit, it really had a big impact on the supply chains in Southeast Asia. And so, most consumers maybe felt a little bit of discomfort, or they couldn't get something or whatever it was. But if you're a running shoe manufacturer, almost overnight, 90% of what you had ordered to be made was no longer going to be produced. And so there was a huge shortage of inventory, and much of the unsold inventory that was still in the US was sitting on pallets in warehouses that had been returned. And so all of a sudden, like this little party trick that we had in the background, we're like, we people contacted us like, hey, remember this thing that you were talking about? And is this something you want to try to get going again? And just by like dumb luck, we had this, we had a solution that only because of the circumstance did it open up the door. And we dusted off the old site. We had built this quality assurance process, because we knew, like I wasn't going to get some pair of shoes that had 100 miles on it, but something that came back without the original packaging that, me at that point after like 15 years, I had enough industry knowledge. Like I knew what the condition of something was and how many miles I could get out of it. And so we called it like essentially like for a long time, it's just a Patton test of would I run in there? And I've got a really discernible taste.
Okay.
I don't want anything stinky. I don't want anything really used, but like I'll get a great deal wherever I can. I won't make a compromise on quality, but I will make a concession on condition if it comes from a trusted source and if I feel like the rigors of quality assurance and a commitment to the best product possible given the conditions that we would want it. And from the second we turned it on, we kind of found this really underserved demographic, but also now this really great outlet for all of this product. And so on Amazon, 19% of all running shoes sold on Amazon get returned. Half of those go back to like FBA and they're resold there, but the other half end up going back to the original seller. And so that's 10% of everything that you order you have to eat if you don't have a good solution for it. And those numbers are pretty similar on other like direct to consumer businesses. And so there is so much of this inventory, but there hadn't been a very good way to service this inventory. And there was problems to be able to solve for the brands because this is just a balance sheet buster because every loss created by a return is paid for by your top line revenue. And as running shoes got to be more expensive, you were starting to price people out of it. And so, Eric, like you, we've got multiple kids and I'm still trying to run and stay fit. But for a family of 6, outfitting everybody 3 times a year with a brand new pair of shoes is just not on the radar. Now we still got.
I get every mile out of my shoes. By the way, like every mile.
You bet. You bet. Yeah.
The bottom of my shoe fell off. It's time.
And I think, and that it's so funny you said it because that ended up kind of becoming the ethos of. Is there some way that we could we could make the tools to become healthier and more physically fit? Can we make those more accessible? But could we also, in the bigger picture, could we help people's dollar go further? Like stuff is really hard and things are really expensive. Could we help people make their money go further with this unique and alternative solution and channel for this kind of inventory? It's not a fit for everybody. There's still the vast majority of people. It's 100% new. That's all that they want. When most people go to a running store, what they don't realize is usually like 5 people have tried on that same pair of shoes before you walk down with it. But in particular, as e-commerce has gotten to be, whether it's direct to consumer or Amazon, that the cat's out of the bag. That as a sales channel is only going to grow. But what we find is when the showroom moves from a retail location into somebody's living room, all the expertise that a brick and mortar store and a really great shoe fitter has or a staff has, you lose a lot of that. And models fit differently. And a 10.5 and 1 might actually fit closer to an 11 and another one. And one model 1 year might fit more generously in the toe box. And then the next year, in order to make it more stable, they put an additional seam that ends up making it a little bit more narrow. And if you're a consumer, you're just doing a lot of guesswork. And a lot of times those guesses do not result in keeping of that product. So then it just opens up this huge challenge of what do we do with all this? What do we do with all this excess product that is also aligned with the values and ethos of the industry and the people we're serving, and then of the brands and what they're working on?
It was really obvious to me that I should write a book that had something to do with running. So that's kind of how it started.
Excellent. So you had that passion already and it is translated into your writing. How do you go about choosing who you want to write about? That's always a cool thing to think about.
Yeah, absolutely. There's so many incredible stories out there that can be told. I think when I'm looking for a subject or a book possibility, I just always love to make sure that I'm writing about something and someone that I can imagine just kind of deep diving into for years, because the process of writing a book is more than a month. It takes many years. Yeah. So you really have to be passionate about the subject and the people who you're with during all of that time. And so for this particular book, I got a chance to meet Shadrach Kipchirchir and Elvin Kibet, along with Samantha Schultz. And the 3 of them were just dear human beings who were excited to tell their stories. And I knew pretty instantly that we'd have a strong relationship and that we could be together kind of working on this together for 3 years.
How did you present this to them? How were you like, hey, Elvin, or hey, to whoever you want to write about, the backpacker, the badass backpacker girl? How do you present that to them? How do you say, I'm Johanna, I'm a writer, I want to write about you, I want to put you in a book? How do you even like present it to a publisher? Like, do you go through a publisher? Do you do it on your own? We know Patrick did it on his own. We know it's a really difficult process.
It is. Yeah, it's really difficult. In fact, I've been very lucky because I've been traditionally published 3 times. Not that it's any better or worse than self-publishing, but it was important for me to be traditionally published. And I've used 3 small publishers. They've all been different. And, the first one was kind of a no-brainer. It was kind of a memoir. So it was a story about me. I didn't really have to ask permission to myself. I just kind of wrote it. The second one, there's actually an incredible story with that we can get back to if we have time as to how that one fell in my lap. And then this third one was just because I had been wanting to write a running book of some sort. I had heard about this program that was part of the U.S. Army called the World Class Athlete Program, which is sort of a unit in the Army which trains distance runners. They're all disciplines in this unit, but they train distance runners to be Olympic athletes. And they're based in Colorado Springs. So I was kind of interested and intrigued that I had never heard about this program. And I went down to Colorado Springs to one of their practices. This was in 2021, and the team was preparing for the Olympic trials. Mm-hmm. And I met a couple of the athletes there, including Shadrach Kipchirchir. And he started telling me his story about growing up. He grew up in Kenya in a small rural village and came to the United States on a distance running scholarship. And his story was very much sort of, oh gosh, this is like the American dream kind of story. Mm-hmm. And then he mentioned he was married to Elvin, who was another soldier athlete in this program. And then there was kind of this love story component. So it just kind of unraveled pretty organically from both their personalities, but also their stories, which were just really beautiful.
I love how it came together. Like, it was just so nice. And one of the things I really liked about the book was just kind of almost the culture shock that they went through when they finally made it to the US. Like, the things that we take for granted, like even having running water and electricity, like they had no idea how to like use a stove. It was just kind of like, wow, they had so many adjustments to get to come here. And it was such a big thing for them. And it was just really, really cool to see their point of view just coming into the US for things that we have every day.
Yeah, that was really important for me to showcase. And so the way that I set up the book was really deliberate. The first half of the book takes place in Kenya, and the second half of the book takes place in the United States. And they sort of meet in the middle of the book. They actually met in the United States on a cross-country course.
I had that question.
Wasn't it his brother that she recognized? Yes. Yeah, that was right.
Yes. She had known his brother from back in Kenya, but never knew Shadrach. And they met on this cross-country course sort of through this brother. And the rest is history. The romance kind of ensued. But just that whole first half of the book and showing their lives in Kenya and what they went through to get to the United States was pretty incredible. And it was important for me to have people kind of understand that, because we see Kenyan-born distance runners in the United States all the time, but we don't really know the backstory and what they've sacrificed to get here.
Exactly. And I'm glad that you brought that to our attention, because it is really eye-opening. And you brought up so many good points in this book. Like, they just had so many other things to deal with. Like, when Shadrach was going for an Olympic spot on, I think it was a 10,000 meter, and people were saying like, he doesn't deserve this spot, but he was an American citizen, and stuff like that just really, really bothers me that people can, just because you're a person of color, like, the racism is just rampant. And the internet warriors, I'm just getting all flustered just talking about it. It's so infuriating. I mean, why don't they deserve the spot that they earned just because they're somebody of color? It just that's been so much to deal with.
So much to deal with. Yeah, that's been really hard for them, and I think really eye-opening, because they didn't really have to face racism in Kenya, and they came here to the United States. They ran for 4 years in college, and then they both joined the Army and served their country and became American citizens. which is crazy. Like it's the ultimate sacrifice. And yet still, when Shadrach made the Olympic team, people made the comment that he didn't deserve that spot. He wasn't a real American.
It's mind-blowing.
And it was just mind-blowing. Just mind-blowing. Yeah. Yeah.
That's no joke.
It is no joke.
How much did you enjoy reading this book? Not reading the book, sorry, but how much did you enjoy reading the stories for the first time?
Immensely. I mean, and actually, I enjoyed them more each time I read them. I'd have to say, so I think I told you one of the stories is 60 pages long. It's a story about Ball State by a guy named Jason Rutherford, and he's a race director out here. He directs a race called Badger. And you would think that you would get tired of reading a 60-page story over and over again, but it was just so well written. And that's the thing about some of these is they're these heartfelt stories where people, I mean, there are people who were going through major life events, people who are experiencing heartbreak. And then there's some that are just plain funny. I mean, one of my friends, a guy named Seamus Babcock, who just paced me on a solo run I did around New York. He just won the 6th day at 3 days at the fair a couple of weeks ago. He has 2 fabulous DNF stories in there. And they're just really funny. I mean, he's a funny writer. I really love the book because I love the variety of the stories. I like the variety of the voices. They're all different. And some of them are just, I mean, you read them and they're really raw. People are sharing parts of themselves that you're thinking, wow, this takes a lot of guts. I mean, one of the stories is it's by a friend of mine. And she was talking about how she was signed up for a race, and right before the race, she found out that her spouse wanted to identified as a woman instead of a man and wanted to transition into a woman. And this is something that she used a race to process, and something that. And, those types of stories where it's not just little stuff. People are processing really, really big stuff and, using ultra running to do it. That's, in my mind, the power of these stories.
I love that. I cannot wait to get my hands on this book. I'm so excited.
And it has a really good cover, so.
And the cover. It's got a lot of redeeming qualities. I can't wait.
I love, a friend of ours, Patrick, wrote a book, right? It's called Why Run When. And I see a lot of similarities between you and Patrick because you both are self-publishers of your own books. And you just seem to have a lot of passion for it. It's not your first book. You've done this before. You have plans to do more books. And you took these stories from others, just the amount of appreciation you have for everything just seems like the passion you put into this project, it's going to show. And I think the book's going to be amazing.
Well, thank you. Thank you. Yeah, I think there's something to be said for having ownership over every part of the process, not just the writing, but the editing, the cover art, the marketing. I mean, being in charge of every last piece of that does give you more of a sense of ownership, I think.
Awesome.
You say that, and I totally relate with this podcast, right? But one thing, because I take ownership in a lot of this, like everything from the art, the Instagram post.
Like 100%.
But what I'm getting to is 95% of everything I do, I run by Erica for her opinion or advice. And all the time she's like, it's great.
And I'm like,
every once in a while, it's like, ooh, like the rainbows, Erica, you notice the white glare in the back. Do you have someone that you send this to, the cover, I know we talked about the editing and how you had Fred help you edit, but
I'm going to bounce ideas off.
Yeah, bouncing ideas or running things through.
I had a friend that I was sending the cover stuff to, saying, what do you think of this? So I definitely ran it by a couple people before I decided to go with it.
Well, I think this is cool. I think it's so cool. The passion. I'm so happy we talked about this. This book sounds awesome. So cool. The people's stories, I love those kind of like stories. I love it's great. I'm so happy for you, Amy. This is awesome.
Bib pickup race day morning when you wake up.
Yeah.
You got your bibs. You wake up early. What time did you have to get to the base? Or how far were you? How far were you camping from?
3
where
miles. 3 miles, right?
So did you guys drove there, I'm assuming?
We were wicked close.
How was it getting in there for traffic? Because the year that I ran it, it was...
Easy peasy because we're so close.
Okay, good.
But we kind of left late, but it turned out to be a blessing. Erin was a little nervous. This ties into the whole sunglasses thing. So we were like, we need to leave by 7:15 because the last cars need to be going up the mountain by 8. The race doesn't start till 9. Yeah. But Erin was our driver, and she and Adeline were going up, and it was a strict rule. 8:01, if you're not in line, you're not going up. So when my mind was focused at the camper with Adeline, make sure she has everything, a jacket, a sweater, a hat, gloves. I didn't even think about myself. I didn't have any fuel. I only ate a muffin. I did remember to kind of lube up. But as we finally left at 22 past, so we're now 7 minutes late than we wanted to leave, I was like, oh, can we turn around and get my sunglasses? Erin's like, no freaking way am I missing that line and not going to get up there. We were one of the last 3 cars in line. It was a blessing because you're last in, first out.
Oh, that's true. Nice.
And when we were first out and we went to across the street, we took some pictures. We're looking, you can see the line as it snakes up the mountain and all the cars. I've never seen the parking lot. I'm going way too fast forward here. I've never seen the parking lot so full in my life up there. And I've been to top of Mount Washington 15, 20 times, hiked it, skied it, the adaptive hike, all the above, right? The only thing I have to do now is bike it and drive a rally car up it since I just ran up it. So that's on the list. When I'm wealthy, I'm going to get a rally car.
Pastrana, if you're listening.
Yes. 100%.
We need a passenger seat.
I don't think...
Eric is not driving up that.
I don't... And when that happens, my goal isn't to beat Pastrana, just to beat his slowest time.
I'm not,
How about
I don't
you get
know.
up there alive? That should be goal number 1.
That sounds that right there though. No, thank you. That sounds so.
I want to do it.
Has he ever?
Danger.
They don't let you race down the mountain, do
No.
they? Okay,
But
'cause-
would that be cool?
no. Oh my god!
Absolutely
Coming
not.
down that mountain in a vehicle is like.
What about a bike?
And driving
A
like
bicycle.
normal speed.
Yeah, normal. Like, and I'm 5 miles an hour at normal speed.
What about a
Terrifying.
bicycle?
Oh no!
Fuck no.
I would die. That's how I would die.
I don't
The
even
brakes
wanna
would go
up
out.
The mountain. I don't want
Yeah, no,
No.
I have no,
no.
desire.
Okay. Anyways,
At least you'd die, get some good airtime, hopefully.
yeah.
Yeah.
Or you know what would happen? I would live.
Not worth it.
I would live through
no.
that. That would be me.
That would be the worst.
Yeah, that would be terrible. Horrible.
Terrible.
So
Hey.
So anyways, we got there around 7:30 because it's only a 3-mile drive. And Mike, Sammy, and I got out of the car and we roamed around, and Adeline and Erin went up, and the other Michael, he stayed at the campsite with Nala. I think we realized Nala could have came with us and gone up to the top, and Erin would have had no problem dog sitting Nala. So no, like I said, everyone
that
would dog
for
sit Nala,
next year.
the greatest dog ever. So, yeah, we roamed around. We were there 90 minutes early. I had no sunglasses. So my goal was to find sunglasses. And very luckily, Sammy knew someone there. His name was Sam, but you call him what, Tara?
Well, his Instagram handle is Can You Run It?
That's right.
Yes.
And so he came to do a warm-up run with us. He goes, I got you. And he hooked me up with some spare sunglasses. He goes, I always bring spares just for when people forget like this. And I'm like,
that is so thoughtful.
I'm like, I don't forget. I was just worried about my daughter, and I wanted to make sure she was okay, and I was less worried about me. And I was like, I don't need sunglasses to do the run. I need them to look good because I look like crap without them.
Nice.
But you'll learn. It turned out I was very fortunate to have sunglasses running up that hill. So we got there super early. I had so much fun. I saw Mo, and Mo gives the best hugs. And when I talk about I'm talking about Maurice, the running panda.
Mm-hmm.
That guy gives the greatest hugs. Have you ever gotten a hug from Mo?
I think before Boston, because I saw him at Athletes Village.
Yes.
So I'm pretty sure.
It's up
I could
there.
be wrong.
It's
Mo, you
got to
can
be a
correct me,
top
but
3 hug.
Yeah.
I mean, unless you're awkward and uncomfortable with hugging and people and touching.
I'm awkward, but I'm pretty sure I'm great at hugging. I will say that about myself.
So Mo was awesome. I saw a few. I saw my cuz.
That's right,
Blake Tyler. And he had a guy, Brian, a friend Brian that we've met before.
Yes,
Brian Severance?
Yes, Brian Severance.
I know Brian.
He's insane. You guys should have
They
him.
were
He's
on the
so
Delta
fast,
Dental
so
team.
Yes, they were.
fast.
They were. They're on the Delta Dental team. And
Was Sam on that too?
Yes.
Because
Yep.
I saw that picture, the group picture.
Yeah.
So I was like, that's really cool.
Yep. So Blake, I saw him. I saw a few others. It's funny. I saw one person that I guarantee I knew.
Yeah.
And I ran by her running, and I'm like, I think that's Kim. And Kim I met
in 2017 at Ironman Mount Tremblant as she was sherping. She was a
White meal.
Here we go. Sweeping.
All right, so
It's a cross between a Sharpie and a Sherpa.
She was there cheering on her husband. And so we were talking and we were all cheering together, me and Scott Black's kids and Kimberly. And so when I did the race a couple years later, because we would see her every year, I remember getting off the bike and thinking, okay, I'm going to see my family around this corner. And this girl, this crazy blonde girl's cheering for me, going crazy. And I'm like, who's this babe? Cheering my name. And I'm like, oh, it's Kim. I totally forgot. Like, you're here. This is amazing. She's cheering for me. Mm-hmm. So I 98% sure I saw her. And I'm like, I know who that is. And I think Sammy goes, you know everybody.
I mean, I do know a lot of people.
You do know a lot of people, and you're just as bad as well, not bad. I mean, you know equally as many people as Danielle does. So my college roommate, which we will get into that, I'm sure, during our
Danielle.
Foundations episode. But she is she's from Rhode Island, but she went to school in New Hampshire, and I swear, anywhere she goes, she could be in Florida, she could be in California. Like, she could be in Europe or for all I care. And she'd find somebody she knew somehow. And it just blows my mind how she can do that. So if you remember all the people from like North Carolina and bada bing, bada boom.
Like I've seen Kimmy 3 times in my life and I was instantly like, that's Kimmy. She must be running up. I got to double check.
That hot blonde. That's why
that helps, right?
I got to double check on that. I hope her husband Mike is listening and just goes, yeah, you're right. She's hot.
Like,
she's mine.
She's a hot blonde.
Yeah.
Back off.
Solo stove.
Is he yelling at us?
No.
Okay.
It's yelling at Tara burping. I know. Shut up over there.
They're like, there's a noise ordinance.
Let's end this because we need to record the foundation episode.
All right.
So I want to change this up. Tara and Lindsay might have a podcast one day. I want to hear you tell everyone how to find us and follow us and support the podcast.
All right. So you can
talk into the microphone.
You can follow them on the Runs on Instagram. You can follow them on Facebook, although Facebook is not the preferred platform. This lovely lady over here.
You can follow us on TikTok. I will say the reel that I posted yesterday has the most views on TikTok so far.
Seen it.
Yes, almost at 2,000, and it's Eric's Mount Washington race.
Oh.
Yes.
So we're growing. Yes, we're getting followers, and so TikTok might be blowing up soon.
Yes.
And if you want to, you can follow or be a Patreon. And you could, there's different tiers that you could be on if you want to be like a bottom tier, but that doesn't mean that you're a
bottom feeder.
Friend of the pod, $4, lover of the pod, $9.
I was just going to do the Britney Spears,
But also
there's
YouTube.
different levels.
Give them a follow on YouTube
Subscribe
as well.
to that YouTube channel.
The YouTube channel. And you know what else is a really great thing for us? And I say us because I am part of the fam.
You can Venmo me.
No, Venmo, but also share the story. Share it in your stories. Tag us.
Rate and review.
Give us a review. Tell your friends about us.
Platform you listen on.
Yes.
Rate and review.
You got to grow it. We got to grow it.
I mean, if the review is going to be bad, then don't review.
No, we need to know the bad. We need to know the bad.
Email the bad.
Wait.
If you have a problem, email me.
Email before you vote.
No, we're not gonna extend this, Erica.
No, it
Stop.
takes 2 seconds. So the other day I was looking, and
We're gonna be here till 11 p.m.
we missed a review.
I'm just going to go right to my 4:30 a.m. run.
Is that tomorrow?
Half drunk.
I'll do it, and then I'll just drive. I got to go to Montreal tomorrow. I'll just drive after that. I'll go with you.
Oh God.
All right.
Montreal,
I have
really?
no idea where it went. I thought I did a screenshot, but we missed a review from back before when Fletch LaRue did one. That was like 5 months ago. So I will
Fletch
find
is
it.
Patrick, by the way.
It is, but
Okay.
he put Fletch, so I keep calling
I
him
was
that.
like, is that his name, Fletch? That's a
No, he
cool
was
name.
he was being cute. So I found a review. I will find it again, and we will read it and give it the
All right,
love
cool.
it deserves. So
Cool.
we'll do that next time.
All right, cool. And then the other thing is maybe Erica can another assignment that I think we gave to her back in the Peloton week we did. But some people have said, I don't want to be a Patreon, but I do want to support the pod. How can I do like a cup of coffee or something? So maybe we can figure that out one day.
Yeah.
I have options
Well, it
for
could be
you.
like Venmo.
I did
It could be
What about
like
But I don't want people Venmoing me personally. I want them
No, so
Venmoing.
set up a
Working on it.
We need
You're
a
gonna hear-
store. We need a merch store.
Well, you're going to hear about that. We might have a company name.
Oh,
and you'll hear about that on the next episode. So we're going to leave you at that, guys. Don't fear the code Brown and Erica.
We love you guys. Thanks for sticking around for this extra long, super fun episode. And
to stretch. Don't forget to stretch. I was waiting
She was
for her
saying
to
that
say
like
it.
she was going to forget
I
it.
thought she was doing it, and she's giving me it. But we love you. Don't forget to stretch.
Oh gosh, that was a train
I'm gonna
wreck.
leave yours.
I gotta pee.